the reinstitution and extension of the debt service suspension initiative to afford Ghana and other debt-strapped countries some limited fiscal respite. Delivering a lecture at the Chatham House in the United Kingdom yesterday, he also called for the expansion of the common framework for debt treatment beyond the DSSI to help African countries access the debt restructuring tools and mechanisms. Now, it goes on to tell you about what the DSSI is.
And finally, the governor in the center spread of the graphic says we will support banks to deal with domestic debt challenges. This is Dr. Ernest Addison making that assurance.
While on page 3 of the BNFT, finally, analysts say they are concerned that there isn't a lot of clarity concerning the 15 billion cedi stability fund. That's also in relation to the domestic debt exchange.
Let me give you one final story on the economy. Ghana set for the world's biggest rate hike so far this year, according to Bloomberg. And it says most economists in Bloomberg survey see a 200 basis point hike. Ghana is the third largest negative interest rate in the world. Now, Ghana is poised to extend its steepest ever phase of interest rate hikes on Monday to put a lid on lofty inflation and shore up its currency. Most economists surveyed by Bloomberg predict the Monetary Policy Committee will lift the key rate by 200 basis points. This story by Ekodonto, by the way. Lift the rate by 200 basis points. One forecast an increase of 250 basis points, and two will forecast a hold. Now, the MPC has already doubled the interest rate since November 2021 as it deals with the worst inflation shock in decades. And a hike of the size will be the largest of any central bank so far this year. And the reason the MPC, of course, the MPC prefers to keep interest rates above inflation in order to attract investment. But in the current circumstance, it's not able to do this. Let's move to something else.
Okay, so the AFTA has been in the news over the last few weeks, and the things came to a crescendo over the weekend.
The Peru Summit.
Exactly. And if you go to the newspapers, almost every newspaper has a story on the AFTA summit that was held in the Eastern region. Now, if you go to page 8, there is a big story there. Let's stop theft of Africa's 88 billion, quoting President Bernard Avle. And the story says President Bernard Avle has tasked African leaders to pay serious attention to and arrest illicit financial outflows from the continent, which are estimated to be around 88 billion US dollars annually. Now, fully realized thereafter to yield 35 billion each year. That's another sub-headline in there. And he goes on to say that 88 billion annual tax motivated illicit financial flow is more than double the $35 billion a fully realized African continental free trade area agreement is expected. So they are stealing more than double.
They should block the loophole.
Now, there's another story there in the paper, page 9, which says Jinapor urges private sector to own the AFTA agenda. And that story says caretaker Minister for Trade and Industries Samuel Abu Jinapor has urged the private sector in Ghana and in Africa to own the African Continental Free Trade Area agenda.
Nathan?
Okay, page 28 of the Daily Graphic. GS cautions public over cash for SHS placement. So in this day when, people are getting to know their BC results, clearly this is an important thing. Now, the Ghana Education Service has cautioned the public to report persons who approach them to pay money for placement into any SHS to the police. In a statement dated January 29, the GS stated that preparations were ongoing for the release of the computerized school selection and placement system for the 2023-24 academic year. It further urged the public to be careful when it came to fake news portals, and instead they should follow the GS official social media handles for more information. Now, talking about misconduct and all of these things, page 29 of the Daily Graphic, man charged for selling packaged broken tiles as phones. Now, a self-styled phone trader who allegedly sold packed broken tiles as phones has been admitted to bail in the sum of 10,000 cedis with 2 sureties by a circuit court in Accra. Mustafa Hamidu has been charged with 2 counts of attempting to commit crime and defrauding by false pretense. He has pleaded not guilty to the charges at the court presided over by Kwabna Kodria Obri Yeboah.
Back to the finder.
If you go to the finder, there's a story there that Bernard flagged earlier. Over 4,000 Burkinabes seek asylum in the West District. And the story says at least 4,000 Burkina Faso nationals are seeking refuge in some parts of the Boku West district of the Upper East region following terrorist attacks in some border communities in Burkina Faso. Now, the refugees moved to Ghana after some homes in Zouago, Bugri, and Zabre, farming communities in Burkina Faso, including a police station, were attacked by terrorists believed to be jihadists, leading to loss of lives. Now, many people, especially women and children, have been displaced as a result, while others have sought asylum in other areas, including Ghana. Now, the situation is causing fear and panic among residents in the border communities, including with Namba, Sogo, Sapeliga, Kansogo, and Gugu in Boku West District, and other areas are also mentioned here. But it goes on to quote some authorities here as making a number of...
Then, now, what is more troubling now is that Russia's footprint grows in Africa as France leaves Burkina Faso. The former colonial power's withdrawal leaves a vacuum that the mercenary Wagner group is eager to fill. This is a Bloomberg story as well. Let me just give on 2 paragraphs. France will withdraw its military from Burkina Faso within a month, following a request from the West African country's governing junta. The removal is the largest sign of the former colonial power's collapsing influence in the region, a development that Russia has eagerly exploited. Now, the end of France's roughly 400-person mission in Burkina Faso comes 10 months after its troops were kicked out of neighboring Mali, where France forces spent nearly a decade leading a losing fight against a growing jihadist insurgency, which killed thousands and displaced millions as it spreads across the Sahel. In both countries, i.e., Burkina Faso and Mali, the French withdrawal occurred as government leaders strengthened their ties to Russia, which has used the mercenary Wagner group to gain a foothold in Central African Republic, Libya, and Sudan. I'm sure we'll discuss some of this later.
Bernard, let's stay with the matter of security, because there's a very interesting story on page 4, but troubling at the same time, of the Anchor newspaper. Police inspector forgets gun in Trotro after pocketing 100 Ghana Cedi bribe. Officer interdicted. And look, the details are captured in a police statement that was released on the 28th day of January 2023. And let me just read that statement in full and forget about the rest of the story. Now, the story says that the statement says police interdict inspector for leaving a service rifle in a commercial vehicle. Paragraph 1. The police administration has interdicted a police inspector for negligently leaving a service rifle in a commercial vehicle. Paragraph 2 says the rifle has since been returned by the driver of the said vehicle, who also alleged that the inspector had extorted money from him. Paragraph 3 says the interdicted officer, Inspector Suleimana Adam, stationed with the Rapid Deployment Force, Takrady, in the Western region, has been referred to the Police Professional Standards Bureau, which is the PIBS, to allow for a thorough investigation into the circumstances surrounding the incident.
Forget himself.
The final paragraph says both the inspector and the driver are assisting the investigation.
Definitely.
Okay, if you go to the Herald, page 3 of the Herald says NDC Council of Elders steps into Haruna's North-South clashes. Now, the Council of Elders of the opposition NDC has once again stepped into the crisis created by the reshuffle of the minority leadership side of Parliament, sparking an intra-party war of words between the North and South caucuses of the party, which claims united and ready to oust the MPP. Ahead of a meeting set for January 31, the council urged the aggrieved MPs and the party leadership at all levels and all concerned persons to refrain from further public pronouncements on the appointment of 2 new party leaders in Parliament, saying, quote, "This is a time to be circumspect in order not to play into the hands of our detractors."
Let me take you into a regional story in the graphic, page 23. Cocoa farmers refute Al Jazeera report on child labor. Story by Doche Kobla Aklobotu from 2nd D. Cocoa farmers in the Western region have described as criminal a false report by regional media, by foreign media, that staged and filmed a scene in a cocoa farm in the region under the guise of being cocoa board officials. This follows publications by Qatar-based media organization Al Jazeera, whose reporters visited Ohiam Pe
Nipa or what?
Ohiam Pe Anika. That's the name of the town in the Menfi West district in the Western region, and disguised themselves as officials of Cocoa Board. Now, the Al Jazeera reporter, speaking through a Ghanaian interpreter, told the unsuspecting farmers that they were from Cocoa Board and their mission was to interact with them and document their challenges to help provide solutions. The farmers said after discussions on production and answering their questions, the Al Jazeera team requested to visit a nearby cocoa farm for some videos to support their discussion, after which the supposed officials made a lot of promises to the farmers. Now, then they go on to give us what happened. That a former assembly member of the area, Samuel Ofori Asare, who featured in Al Jazeera report, said the media house did not tell them about their intention. The essential thing was that it was on Sunday and they claimed to be cocoa board officials. And when they requested to go to one of the farms, a resident whose farm was nearby agreed to take them. It says they now went on to talk about how 3 of Mr. Jan's teenage nephews returning from church were asked to change their clothes and go to their uncle's farm. In the farm, the journalists told the farmers to use the machete to harvest the pods from the tree and give it to the children to open for them to enable them to film.
Oh, Charlie.
So they went to church, changed, and went to take cocoa. He said the community who were waiting for the supposed support from cocoa board officials were shocked to see an Al Jazeera TV report on child labor on their farm. We don't use children or engage in child labor in our cocoa production, and it is therefore wrong for Al Jazeera to visit our cocoa. I think that there's a serious, if this is true, that the reporter states this.
We can pursue the
media house itself, the community and cocoa board must be having a conversation.
Exactly.
I don't know if there's a World Media Ethics Board or something. If this is true, this is completely...
The most important thing is to take them on and deal with the Al Jazeera. And
that's what I'm asking. It's about forum. If it was Ghana, you go to Media Commission. So globally, where will you go?
I'll have to research it.
Yeah, because if if it's true, because from the report, they basically said the kids came from church and they said, oh, go and change into clothes. We are going to farm to do some shooting. And then they said that we are using cocoa. And you know what that means? They are trying to reduce the value of our cocoa so that this
the whole agenda. Yesterday I saw one flashing on Al Jazeera again about La Côte d'Ivoire. They say they have gone there to do some investigation.
They are just looking for stories to.
So we need to do something.
Ghana Côte d'Ivoire thing we've done.
Yes,
they don't want it to happen.
Yes, so they are just bastardizing everything. And also the question is whether when you help your mother, if it's on a farm, is it child labor? I mean,
the whole thing is that you see, because the people who buy the cocoa and use our chocolate, most of that from the West. Some of their pet peeves and all those things that they think about. Charlie,
let me just take you back to Parliament quickly, because the Chronicle has a story that says why Haruna Mutaka were fired, and that story is on page 3 by Max Olofori. The first 2 paragraphs of the story say that the national chairman of the opposition National Democratic Congress, Johnson Etienne Nketiah, has disclosed that changes were made to the party's leadership in Parliament because they were, quote and unquote, not cooperating with the Speaker of Parliament. And the story goes on to say the rather shocking revelation is in sharp contrast with the earlier explanation. Etienne Nketiah, in an interview hours after the news broke about the widely criticized decision, said the change had nothing to do with the capacity of the trio, but had everything to do with reorganization of the party.
Now, it's election 2024, City Newsroom, majority of MPP's delegates preferred by Bawumia, according to a survey. The Vice President, Dr. Bawumia, is tipped to win the MPP presidential primaries to lead the party in 2024, as is the preferred candidate among delegates. This was contained in a delegate-based survey conducted by Outcomes International Ghana and Center for Sustainable African Development Initiative, UK. The 2 firms jointly conducted a 3-month survey between 15 November and 15 December. Now, a couple of interesting comments here. So the president is photographed with the president of Niger.
Yes, after a beater.
Now, you should have told the man that the things people do to our people is not fair. It's not correct.
We did Ghana, we think they will be the King Kongs of Africa.
The man didn't.
Niger finished with Charlie.
And the man didn't. And then our City Business News has a very troubling story. Ghana's public debt stock is now 574 billion in November. And according to the Bank of Ghana, this is more than 90% of GDP.
That's a serious matter. 90% of GDP.
More than.
Hey, that's close to 100%.
This is the Citi Breakfast Show, the city's biggest conversation.
The person who is employing you, your customer who says that, give me a week to pay you. The person that says that, yes, I can patronize your services, but can you reason with me in this way? This is what I'm dealing with in my own setup. So can you meet me halfway? We need to learn how to listen to these people and truly hear them and trust what they are sharing with us so that we can continue to be in business. Remember, we are holding each other's hand.
I think galamsey is a mental problem. It's a mental problem. It's a mindset problem that you think you can steal today and still eat your cake tomorrow. I think that if you could go to the next slide, that we have to appreciate to fix and restore is always more expensive than to spoil. Spoiling takes an instant.
Yeah.
Those of you who are in married or relationships, you slap your spouse. I'm not recommending this. It takes a second to do that action, but I'm telling you, pay for it for the rest of your life.
Yes.
So it is better not to spoil it in the first place.
You buy Goil, your OMC of choice. We're making life ever so convenient. We now accept Momo for all fuel purchases. Just remember to Momo it at Goil. You can also use your bank card. That's in fact all bank cards to buy fuel at Goil. So drive to your nearest Goil station now, buy fuel and pay by Momo, a bank card or a Goil Go card. Visit our social media platform for more information. News is also brought to you by MTN. There's good news for small to medium scale business owners. With SME Plus, you get to manage all your operational costs in communication. This service simply allows you to choose from affordable packages and enjoy talk time, SMS data, and business content all bundled into one. The other exciting news is that you get free on-net calls every Monday from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Simply dial star 5060 hash to sign up today. The news is also sponsored by Enterprise Life and Access Bank. So Neti Ajaho is in the house with the news. Good morning.
Good morning, Bernard. Welcome to the breakfast edition of Citi Business News, proudly brought to you by MTN, Goil, Enterprise Life, your advantage, Access Bank, more than banking, and powered by your most comprehensive business news website, citibusinessnews.com. Coming up, Ghana's public debt stock soars further to hit 575.7 billion Ghana cedis, and the business community is urging the Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of Ghana to maintain the policy rate to make loans less expensive. 12 stories now, and the Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of Ghana is expected to announce a new policy rate later this morning. This follows the completion of the Monetary Policy Committee's quarterly meetings to review the Ghanaian economy on Friday. It's not clear if the current 27% will be maintained, reduced, or increased. However, the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, GNCCI, has ruled out the possibility of a change in the policy rate to be announced by the central bank. The Chief Executive Officer of the GNCCI, Mark Bidu Abwaji, expects the figure to be reduced to make it less expensive for businesses to borrow from the banks.
From the beginning of the year, we have constantly been increasing the monetary policy rate to its current level, and inflation is also constantly going up to a level of 50.3. Do you know that the producer price index is about 78%, which means that on average, from the beginning of the year to this level, the cost of production or doing a business on average has increased by 78%. And this is affecting businesses. So I personally would not want it to be increased further. At least the best they can do is to reduce the rate, and that will bring some relief to businesses. Once the rate comes down, I think the banks will also adjust and reduce the lending rate to businesses. If it goes up further, it's going to affect businesses badly.
That was the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mark Bidu Abwaji. Today's announcement will be the first for this year and is expected to affect interest rates charged by banks on their loans given to customers. The central bank in November 2022 increased its policy rate by 250 basis points to 27%, citing risk to inflation and exchange rate concerns as reasons. Now, new figures released by the Bank of Ghana show that Ghana's public debt has reached 575.7 billion Ghana cedis as of November 2022. This represents 93.5% of GDP. By this, the country's debt crisis has deepened further. The following news desk report has more. The new debt figure of 575.7 billion Ghana cedis brings Ghana's debt to GDP ratio to 93.5%. This is the highest recorded in recent history. According to the Bank of Ghana's January 2023 summary of economic and financial data, the debt stock increased by 108.3 billion Ghana cedis between September and November 2021. Per the data, the external component of Ghana's total public debt hit $29.2 billion in November 2022, equivalent to 62.1% of GDP. This is an increase from the $28.4 billion recorded in September 2022. It's also an increase in the cedi. In terms of domestic debt, it stood at 194.7 billion Ghana cedis at the end of December 2022, representing 31.6% of GDP. This is compared to the 195.7 billion Ghana cedis recorded in September 2022. The increase in the debt figure highlights the country's deepened debt crisis and comes at a time when government is seeking an IMF economic bailout. That was a Citi News Desk report. Management of Telcel Group has assured the staff of Vodafone of no layoffs as it takes over the company. This follows the National Communications Authority's approval for the transfer of the 70% majority shares in Ghana Telecommunications Company Limited, also Vodafone Ghana, held by Vodafone International Holdings BV to Telcel Group. There's more in this report by Michael Obudu.
Vodafone Ghana had last year applied to the National Communications Authority to transfer 70% of its majority shares to Telecel, but this did not pull through after it failed to meet the regulatory requirements. Earlier this year, in a statement, the NCA later called for a resubmission following a careful evaluation of the application on various criteria and engagements with both parties. Speaking to Citi Business News, board chairman of Telecel Group, Nicholas Borge, expressed delight at the progress made.
Well, we're very happy about it. It's been a year that we are talking with them, and it's a year that we believe very constructive year to be able for us to fit to their needs. And today we are in a very constructive state of mind with them and totally in phase with them.
However, since news broke about the deal, there has been uneasy calm amongst the staff of Vodafone Ghana over their job security. But Mr. Borge stressed that there was absolutely no cause for concern.
Not at all. We don't have any plan to lay off anyone or anybody in the staff. That's not the way we operate in Telecel. We prove it with different organizations that we have in different countries. Our plan is to keep everyone, every employee of Vodafone.
That's very reassuring. So what is the plan then? How do you roll out your strategy with the current existing staff?
Yeah, well, it's a bit too early to say that, but there is certainly idea that we're going to put in materialization. But let me prepare that a bit further because we're just in the closing phase right now, and we have time to advance on that.
That was the board chairman of Telcel Group, Nicholas Bourne, ending that report in an exclusive interview with Citi Business News. Moving on, President Nana Akufo-Addo has called for the use of tax policies, among others, to check illicit financial flows out of the continent. He is concerned that the activity, which cost Africa close to $100 billion, denies the continent the needed resources to facilitate growth and development. He was speaking during the closing session of the Made in Africa Prosperity Dialogues, dubbed the Kwewu Summit.
We need to pay serious attention to and arrest illicit financial outflows out of the continent, which are estimated at about some 88 billion United States dollars annually, depriving Africa of significant resources that could be used to support a development agenda. We must urgently and collectively institute comprehensive and unambiguous tax policies to combat tax-motivated illicit financial flows, strengthen legal and law enforcement systems, and bring together national agencies to stem such flows. We need concrete measures to stop the systemic impoverishment of our continent and the theft of its resources.
President Akufo-Addo speaking there. The Institute of Energy Security is projecting petrol will retail for about 15 Ghana cedis per litre in the next pricing window of February. This, according to the Institute, is due to the about 10% depreciation of the cedi against the dollar, coupled with the price of gasoline and gas oil increasing by approximately 14% and 7.6% respectively on the global market. This is despite government's introduction and receipt of about 40,000 metric tons of fuel under the Gold for Oil policy. It's also part of government's efforts to addressing the high cost of fuel at the pumps, which have partly contributed to the spike in inflation in the country, currently hovering around the 50% mark. Presently, the national average price per litre of gasoline increased to about 13 cedis 58 pesos from the 12 cedis 54 pesos, and gas oil for 14 cedis 40 pesos and 15 cedis 36 pesos during the second pricing window of January. Now, on the interbank foreign exchange market, where banks trade amongst themselves, the Ghana cedi is selling for 10 cedis 80 pesos. The British pound is going for 13 cedis 38 pesos. The euro is selling at 11 cedis 7 pesos. At some forex bureaus, the cedi is selling for 12 cedis 80 pesos. The British pound is going for 15 cedis 55 pesos, and the euro for 13 cedis 60 pesos. Let's now join Mark Jordan Sika Nati of Data Bank for the latest updates on the stock market.
Last week, the Ghanaian stock market registered 7 price movers made up of 1 gainer and 6 laggards. Ben's oil palm plantation emerged as the sole gainer, climbing 10% week on week to 8 Ghana cedis 80 pesos, whilst Fan Milk PLC emerged as the top laggard, losing 10% week on week to 2 Ghana cedis 70 pesos. The net effect of price changes drove down the market indices, with the GSE Composite Index losing 0.2% week on week to 2,429.55 points, whilst the Data Bank Stock Index declined 0.33% week on week to 103.94 points. This week, we tip Ben's oil palm plantation to gain due to high demand. On the other hand, we anticipate a decline in EcoBank Ghana and Unilever Ghana, fueled by signs of selling pressures.
That was Mark Jordan Sikanate of Data Bank. And that does it for the breakfast edition of Citi Business News, proudly brought to you by MTN, Grow, Enterprise Life, Your Advantage, and Access Bank, more than banking, and powered by your most comprehensive business news website, citybusinessnews.com. My name is Neti Ajaho. Have a good business day.
I nearly gave up on driving out of frustration. What hadn't I done? Purging, replacing electrical parts, changing my fuel pump, and still the engine noise in my car won't stop. Then I met this guy who said I should try Goil Fuel. By the way, my name is Thomas. I did try Goil Super XP Ron 95. Now my car is renewed. Yankongwa!
Goil stocks only higher grade fuels, further enriched with XP3 multifunctional enhancer. More efficient, eco-friendly, and at no extra cost. Available at every Goil station. Ajibebia. Goil Super XP Ron 95 and Diesel XP. Higher grade fuels. Excellent for modern engines and all vehicles. Goil. Good energy. Yeah, yeah.
The other day, I visited Kweku at his spunky new office to congratulate him on opening his business. And man, was I impressed. The business is just moving quick. The sales, customers, everything is just working seamlessly. The secret? He said,
it's MTN Business Broadband. In this fast-paced environment, we need fast and reliable internet to support all business types. No laggy online meetings.
That having one job is either too insecure or doesn't pay you enough to go beyond thinking of employment opportunities to work opportunities. And what do I mean by this? Many people are finding that having one job is either too insecure or doesn't pay you enough to live. So instead, they have different work streams. So maybe I might be on a platform like Fiverr, where I offer my services as a graphic designer.
All right.
On the other side, I may also have another side gig where I'm doing some jewelry thing and I put that on Instagram. On another side, I might do a little consulting where I'm giving people advice or coaching. So that's what we call the diverse work opportunities. So that's a mindset shift, that to be future ready, start thinking not necessarily of this one job, but these different work opportunities. Go beyond thinking.
Do is to relax, take a paper, and list all your debt, irrespective of the amount involved. Many a time, Mami Akam, which is the canteen shop that you usually buy food from, sometimes you are owing 3 days, 4 days, you haven't paid. So when you compile your list, you end up losing that one out. So when you do a lot of Mami Akam around, you probably would think that, hey, that's a lot of money. So you need to have paper, pen, and this time around, I will encourage you to use red.
On the Citi Breakfast Show. But coming up next is kick-off. What a terrible week it's been for teams I support. But at least there's some good news. Novak Djokovic has won his 22nd Grand Slam.
I'm surprised that you have not mentally checked out of the teams you support for the season. See, that's the coping mechanism. When you know that the things are not going well, you just need to mentally check out.
But you can't, it's difficult. The Ghana one really pained me because my thing about Niger, I thought like Niger, they overwhelmed me. Charlie, they beat us well.
Oh yeah, very convincing.
It wasn't even as if like
if we had been given another 90 minutes, they would have probably beaten us by a bigger score.
Charlie, it's not. We're not even.
Yeah, they were better than us.
Charlie, I don't know whether it's our local league. Something's just not right there.
The football has caught up. In the last competitions, we've been eliminated by Comoros and Niger. So if
Madagascar beat us.
Exactly. If that doesn't tell us anything, if it doesn't tell us to wake up and do our things well,
who knows? Anyway, so let's get into kickoffs brought to us by Lesheho. Are you a private school targeting to buy a school bus sometime this year? That's a good dream to have. Well, why wait for later when we can support you? Do it now. Come along, apply for our competitive school bus loan with convenient payment terms. Call Michael on 057 411 7851. That's 057 411 7851. Let's do it together. Lesheho, let's improve life. All right, so Ben has the details.
Let's get into the headlines. And Mohamed Kudus named Swag Sports Personality of the Year. Andrea Ayew mutually terminates contract with Al Sadd. And in the NBA, there were wins for the Cavaliers and the Milwaukee Bucks. Let's get into the details. And Black Stars midfielder Mohamed Kudus says he is motivated to do more after winning the 2022 Swag Sports Personality of the Year and Footballer of the Year awards. Now, the Ajax player said this in a recorded speech played after he won the biggest prize at the 47th edition of the awards. Now, Kudus, who crowned his weekend with a goal in the Dutch Eredivisie, was among 25 athletes honored for their outstanding exploits in various sporting disciplines in the year under review.
I'm really happy to be in this position, to be an award winner, and this serves as a big motivation for me to even keep doing more. So I just want to thank everyone else who's been involved in this and the whole people of Ghana. I want to congratulate all the other award winners and the contenders. I believe we are all winners. We are all together, and I wish the best to everyone.
Swag Sports Personality of the Year, Mohamed Kudus, speaking there. To some other news, and let's get to the camp of the Galaxies. And their head coach, Arno Walker, says his team's elimination from the 2022 CHAN tournament is undeserving. Now, Ghana lost by 2-0 to Niger in the quarterfinals on Saturday to crash out of the tournament. A distraught Arno Walker told CAF Online, and I quote, "I am really down. I never expected to lose this match. Even at 2-0 down, we failed to score even just one goal. It is a very big blow for us as a team. The Nigerians were taking the 50-50 balls. They were determined. You could see that they were determined to win this match at all costs. And when they got an early goal, it gave them more determination." End quote. So Arno Walker says he doesn't think his team deserves to lose. In the end, the Galaxies will be back home here with us. So let's move forward. Let's get to some of the other results. Algeria 1, Ivory Coast 0, Senegal 1, Mauritania 0, Madagascar 3, Mozambique 1, and Niger 2, Ghana 0. So the semi-final pairings have been done. Algeria will take on Niger, and Senegal will be up against Madagascar. Let's get to the Bet Power Premier League match week 14. Asante Kotoko, they were in prime form when they thrashed Kotoku Royals by 5-1. Richmond Lamptey was on the score sheet. Stephen Mukwala scored twice, said Zeze, and also Safu Taylor all getting in on the action. Kotoko coach Seydou Zebo was satisfied that his players implemented the game plan.
Comme j'ai dit au début, il n'y a rien à dire encore. On a travaillé pour qu'on puisse soutenir Mukala dans les situations offensives.
We don't have much to say. Like we said, we have worked very, very hard for some of the players in attacking lineup to give support to Mukwala. And that's what happened, because we have practiced it. We saw that is a problem. And at least we put it in play, and it works out.
Now, head coach of Kotoku Royals, John Eduafo, admitted his team lost to a superior side.
My boys have equally played well, just that their level is not up to the standard of Kotoko. And you could see the quality in Kotoko. It's more high than that of my boys. And I would say that is the attribution of why we have lost the game.
So John Eduafo there speaking for Kotoku Royals. Miriama also lost by 1-0 to Accra Heart of Oak. Kwejo Obeng Jr. with the only goal in that particular encounter. Heart of Oak haven't won in Takwa since 2016. So this was a big win for them. Accra Heart of Oak head coach Slavko Matic lauded the attitude and tactical discipline of his players.
I think we prepared this game on the way. What I don't like, to give more ball to opponent, to play more of offensive transition like we score goal. That was very important for us to win on the way how we want to play. I watched 3 games of Mediama, but for me was the most important how they play against Asante Kotoko. They lose here against Asante Kotoko, but they make a lot of problems for Asante. We didn't give them that. I'm happy because my players, they show very good attitude and they show very good tactically discipline. Every chance what we have tried to use, we have luck, we use one. You know, everything is about state of mind. You can change tactic, running, technical things, but mentality you need time. And we start to change. We're going on well. We're going on the good route. It's not easy.
Slavko Matic is head coach of Accra Heart of Oak. In the other results, Great Olympics 1, Karela 0, RTU 2 in Swatrama 0, Samatex 1, Kim Faisal 0, Brekum Chelsea 1, Dreams FC 0, Aduana Stars 1, Accra Lions 1, Tamale Cities 2, Bibiani Gold Stars 3, Legon Cities 1, Bechem United 3. Now the league table after match week 14 has Adriana sitting top on 25 points. There's Kotoko also on 24 in second, Hearts in third on 24, and then you have Gold Stars in fourth, also on 23 points. Let's get to the FA Cup 4th round. That was where the action was this weekend. Brighton and Hove Albion, they have dumped Liverpool out of the FA Cup at the 4th round stage. 2-1 is how that game ended. Mitoma getting the critical goal in that encounter. Let's hear from Liverpool manager Jurgen Klopp after his team's defeat.
The game was obviously completely different to the one we played a couple of weeks ago here. Very much more complicated for Brighton, had much more own situations, scored a wonderful goal, had good situations first half. Gave, again, too many easy balls away where they can take counter-attacks. That was actually the first half the best situations they had. And we gave them the ball unnecessarily. And then they scored 2 goals from set pieces, which is it's so tough to accept, but they did it. And so we don't go this year to the next round.
Jurgen Klopp is Liverpool head coach. Now, Man United, they beat Reading by 3-1. Casemiro scoring twice in that game, and Fred also getting on the score sheet. There was Ghanaian interest, Babaraman and Andy Yadon both featuring in that particular game. Let's hear from Man United captain Harry Maguire, who spoke highly of their strong home form.
We definitely haven't won 11 on the spin since I've been here. The actual times where we was playing really well and collecting a lot of points, when I've been here, we was probably better away from home. So it's great that we've got to make your home a fortress. It's really important. It's got to be tough for people to come, and I'm sure if you spoke to their boys tonight, I think they'd have felt it was relentless. The first half was relentless without the goal, and we controlled the game from them on. And like I said, maybe we got a little bit sloppy in the last 15 minutes, but The game was won and we're into the next round, and that's the most important thing.
Harry Maguire, Man United captain, speaking there. Man City, they beat Arsenal by 1-0. Preston North End lost 3-0 to Tottenham. Walsall lost 1-0 to Leicester. Accrington lost 3-1 to Leeds United. Fulham and Sunderland drew 1-1, so there'll be a replay of that one. And then Southampton beat Blackpool by 2-1. Let's now get into some transfer-related stuff. And Al Sadd have terminated the contract of Black Stars captain Andre Ayew by mutual consent. The 33-year-old had 5 months left on his 2-year deal with the Qatari club. Now, Chelsea have signed Lyon right-back Malo Gusto for £26 million, with the 19-year-old spending the rest of the season in France on loan. Now, Gusto becomes the latest Chelsea arrival on a 7.5-year deal at Stamford Bridge and will end 2022-2023 with his current side Olympique Lyonnais. Now, Morocco's World Cup star Azzedine Ounahi has signed for Olympique Marseille until June 2027. Ounahi, who was targeted for Leeds, moves from French side Angers for a reported fee of £8.7 million. Also, in the camp of Inter Milan, they have rejected a €20 million offer from PSG for centre-back Milan Skriniar. Now, the player will be a free agent in the summer, and he has already signed a pre-contract agreement to move to PSG in July. Juventus are also busy, and they have agreed a deal with Leeds United for American international Weston McKennie for a loan plus option to buy deal, which could become an obligation under certain conditions. Now, Leeds will pay a €1.5 million loan fee with the optional price in the summer of $35 million plus $5 million in add-ons. Anthony Gordon has sealed his £45 million switch to Newcastle after handing in a transfer request at Everton. A 21-year-old becomes Eddie Howe's first signing of the month as the Premier League's third-place team bolstered their attacking options for the second half of the season. Now, Leicester City have also signed Brazilian winger Tete on a short-term deal until the end of the season. So that's what's going on the transfer front. Let's finish off with some tennis. And Novak Djokovic says he hopes winning 22 Grand Slams will inspire young players to dream big. The Serb sealed a record-extending 10th title at the Australian Open with a 6-3, 7-6, 7-6 victory against Stefanos Tsitsipas. He equals Nadal's all-time record for the most Grand Slam men's singles titles with 22.
The message really for any young tennis player around the world who is watching this now and dreaming to be here where Stefanos and I am, dream big, dare to dream, because everything is possible. Don't let anybody take away the dream. Doesn't matter where you're coming from. I actually think that the more disadvantaged childhood you have, the more difficulties and more challenges you have, the stronger you become. So Stefanos and I are the proof of that.
Australian Open champion Novak Djokovic speaking there, and that's all for this morning's edition of Kickoff. My name is Benjamin Nketiah. Kickoff was brought to us by Lesheho. There's more sports at citysportsonline.com.
Sexual intimacy has a huge load of health and wellness, including psycho-emotional benefits. And which is why we need to address the pain and the cause of the pain, just so that we make the experience holistic, pleasurable, just so the individuals, particularly the women, can derive the benefit. For instance, good sexual experience, when you have good sex, that leads to orgasm, at least 2 of that a week, has been found through scientific research to even limit the risk of some medical disorders by 50%.
Serious?
Yes.
2 times a week?
Yes, 2 times a week. You are calling like a prescription.
Some people are actually, this one they have to scatter.
And obviously the more the better.
People are updating their notes and making new resolutions.
And so it has a tendency to boost your immunity.
Forgive.
And that's how your body is able to stand up to infections and be able to protect itself. It enhances your mood.
Know yourself. As much as you can, try to know yourself.
Okay.
And I want to entreat for those of you out there who want to know yourself. We have the ability, we have the technology, we have the lab analysis that will help you to know yourself. So you will not be just placing yourself in assumption and interpretation of other people. So when they ask you who you are, you'll be able to tell who exactly you are, because that influences your decision, your choices, and even help you to manage your life. You don't want to leave this world without really coming to know who you are. So you're just trying to be like other people till you die without really coming to know yourself. So when you get in touch, we can give you what you have to do in order to get your lab analysis so that you can be so proud of yourself and even your children. So you don't struggle to know what your children will do in the future and all that. That is just a plus that you can give to yourself as your New Year package. And then you need to actually question your opinions of life. Know yourself.
First thing you do is to relax, take a paper, and list all your debt, irrespective of the amount involved. Many a time, Mami Akam, which is the canteen shop that you usually buy food from, sometimes you are owing 3 days, 4 days, you haven't paid. So when you compile your list, you end up losing that one out. So when you do a lot of Mami Akam around, you probably would think that, hey, that's a lot of money. So you need to have paper, pen, and this time around, I will encourage you to use red pen to write it. That shows the thing that's going. In other words, you need to have money. So you list from your mortgage, if you have one, from your car loan, if you have one, from education loan, if you have one, the food, if you have one, loan from the bank, if you have one, companies outstanding, if you have one, IOUs from your friends, if you have one. So you need to have a whole list of it. That's one.
Were they paying rent to sing the song? So they had to make it shorter. This is Ramblers. It is our Heritage Month. You would understand the manner of many things, their histories, their cultural contexts. We'll give you great music every day on the Citi Breakfast Show on Breakfast Daily. The on-air series will be coming your way big time. Then we have Back to the Village Food Bazaar. Back to, yesterday I was wearing my Heart of Folk jersey, and then somebody said, "Hey, Aloski, this jersey, I saw you were enjoying Back to the Village Food Bazaar." Yeah, Back to the Village Food Bazaar. So that's also happening in the month of March, and of course the Heritage Caravan. Yes, a few happy birthday wishes coming through. It's on 30th January. Our daughter turns 13, and this is her only wish. Her name is Yaira Anagbla. She is a student of Vine Christian School. From your dad, your mom, and your sisters, we wish you a happy birthday. Welcome to becoming a teenager. You are special to us, and we love you dearly. Yaira Anagbla, 13 years old. Also from the management and staff of Engineers and Planners Company Limited, Jatta Cement, and all its subsidiary companies. Wishing Ibrahim Mahama, CEO of Jatta, Jatta Cement. Your impact on humanity cannot be quantified. You keep changing and transforming the lives of many across the continent. Your vision in industry is unmatched. Your leadership is exceptional. You are like an endless fountain of inspiration. Having a boss like you is such a great blessing. Coming from Rafiq Mahama, who is your communications and personal aid, to Ibrahim Mahama, engineers and planners. Ibrahim Mahama.
Ibrahim Mahama, Charlie.
What would it be like being the personal aid to a man like Ibrahim Mahama?
He's just big man, Charlie.
Charlie, the kind of things you must know.
Yeah.
The kind of things you must be able to do.
Thank you.
To just even be it's not easy. Happy birthday to Daddy Bosco. Charlie, the guy is 60.
Oh, you mean Daddy Bosco?
Original.
Yeah, Rasta man.
Yes, original Daddy Bosco is 60 years old. It's called Mr. Ahuma Bosco Okansi, yeah. aka Daddy Bosco, head of communication and special project at Musica. Yeah, Rasta.
No, John Rastafari. I remember that so many years ago, you know, Daddy Bosco called the members of the Brotherhood.
Yes, please.
For a press conference.
Yes,
and a DJ presenter. I think this was at the height of we should pay reparation to, the black community. Charlie, when Man was listening to the conversation with consciousness.
I tell you, those are the days of Blackie Dube. Yes.
Daddy Bosco, happy birthday, man, and happy birthday, man. But this is, let me do this one for Felix Ni Lante Bruce. He's with the Ghana Water Company Limited, the Accra West region. Today is his birthday, and all of us are wishing him happy birthday for his loyalty, listening to us, and then also doing great things at Ghana Water.
And also happy birthday from our old friend Kwame Jumo Ajimai to his one and only Mrs. Dorcas Mami Ya.
Thank you.
Jumo Ajimai.
Thank you.
Today is her birthday.
A few more coming in. Happy birthday to Amina Diallo of Malangbawe. God bless you so much. We love you. And to Ibrahim Mahama from Kamshi Scents and Beyond. Also from Munamadi and the entire family to Ibrahim Mahama. I want to also wish my good friend Ali Dunasa. Yesterday was your birthday. Of Purple Cow and other places. Member of the Odadian 98-year group. It's called NAS. Yesterday was your birthday. Happy birthday. Also to Na Abeka of Access Bank GH Corporate Communications Team. Happy birthday to you from Fatima. I can't take no chance. But before I go there, January is so long, it's still not over. It's 5 weeks, guys. Be part of the Zenith Bank MasterCard More for More promo now, where if you spend 1,000 cedis or more online or via POS using a Zenith MasterCard or debit card, You will get fuel coupons, shopping vouchers, and up to 20,000 cedis cash at the end of the month. Shop and pay using a Zenith MasterCard debit and be rewarded with cool cash to shop again in the Zenith More for More promo. Promo is regulated by National Lottery Authority on the Caritas Lottery platform. Terms and conditions apply. Zenith Bank, in your best interest. And this year's Enterprise Motor Insurance promo, dear, a year different. Buy or renew your motor insurance with Enterprise and win instant gifts such as fuel coupons, branded gift items, and qualify for the monthly raffle draws with amazing rewards. And what's more, when you buy your motor insurance from Enterprise, you can win an iPhone 14, a washing machine, high-pressure car washer, vacuum cleaner, auto tire inflator, and in the final month, a premium motorbike. Wait no more. Call your insurance broker today. Promo regulated by NLA on the Caritas Lottery platform. Enterprise your advantage. And Prospectus Ghana, this is the week of school. BEC results coming in. People have gone back to school. Prospectus Ghana has introduced a new short code, *447*899# to help parents and guardians make installment payments towards items they want to buy for their award school admissions. It's safe, it's convenient. We're also one-stop shop for all your school items. We supply good quality brand chalk white A4 sheets. We're on the Graphic Road opposite Toyota Ghana. Call 0500 600 607. Prospectus Ghana, your one-stop shop for all school items and stationery. All right, so there's a very strange relationship between a number of stories that a lot of people consider unrelated. So, President says 88 million, or is it billion of illicit financial flows. Okay, so that story is not on its own. That story is related to the whole after attempt, the after effort of trying to get us to make different things to trade among ourselves, to travel and visit each other. It's related. We are too similar in our economies, so we are not diversified enough and we're not able to develop. So that's story number 2. Then story number 3, Burkina Faso, 4,000 more, what's the name of the word? Refugees. Displaced people have entered Boko, which is already a volatile part of Ghana. And the whole Burkina Faso military junta, we don't want anything to do with France anymore. Russian mercenaries, they are being given mines in replacement for servicing the Burkinabe junta against Islamist insurgents. It's all related. West Africa's instability is becoming problematic. Mali is the first place this will happen. And in fact, some people even trace the whole thing to Libya. All right. So, and I'm not sure you can discuss after and trade and economic prosperity if you don't look at security within the sub-region. All right. So there's a way in which they are connected. I'm not sure the equation to use, but I know there's a relationship between what the president said, the fact that AFTA is trying to get off its feet.
How are they doing?
We can get into that because it depends on who you ask. For some people, they are saying, look, the countries have ratified our many, but those who are actually implementing ease of entry things are not that many. And those who are actually making things to sell are even not that many. Because the whole AFTA is about trading goods and services and free movement of people and services. So how many people are going to other West African countries? How many of us have appetite to start anything elsewhere? What are we doing here that is relevant to other people in the West African or beyond Africa or whatever? So that's one. I've not even finished. And I'm linking it to even the cocoa story. All right? So I think sometimes we gloss over these stories. And yes, we've not spoken to Al Jazeera before, but the reason I think the graphic gave it such prominence, and because it's typically to find a news writer, and we know Doche Akrobotu, he went back to the town to speak to the people, and the people are basically saying the reporter deceived them. We haven't heard from the reporter or the Al Jazeera network yet, so we're not going to take the full story. But I can understand why it's such a big story, because there's a certain sense in which the coverage the coverage of us, particularly in the West, is very demeaning and very biased and skewed. All right, and I feel that the conversation about our cocoa being sustainably sourced, we are not saying it's not good to source your cocoa sustainably, but we are saying the emphasis and the narrative and the angle. And this guy, the reason, I'll give you an example. 2 years ago, last year, everyone was talking about energy transitions. It was like the right thing to do. Germans are spending money on solar energy, renewables. The Danish are saying the same thing. I moderated conferences in 2018, 2019, 2020. Norwegian president was on a panel with the president of Ghana. I was there moderating. They are talking about how we're going to move into renewable energy. We're going to sustainably source our whatever. Do you get me? So everybody's like, the Bible of global energy is energy transitions. Then Russia attacks Ukraine. Then there are sanctions against Russia. Then the Europeans realize that, well, Gazprom, who gives us 80% of our gas, is from Russia. Oh, by the way, it means we will not have heat this winter. Oh, okay, let's put any transitions on hold. Let's go and re-engage our coal mines. Let's go back to fossil fuels and let the Africans and the Asians and the Chinese, they are too foolish to say anything about hypocrisy. When things are okay, we'll come back to do any transition. Like, what? I mean, what are you talking about? Do you understand? It's like, why do these people think we are so foolish that you can just decide when you want to do this or when you want to do that? Which is what makes me feel that sometimes a lot of these things, let's sustainably do this, let's do this. These are all parts of things they put in place to ensure that you never rise to where they are. Because I am not saying we shouldn't have, children shouldn't be in school. But if I go to school, I mean, I used to sell food. You used to sell in the market. All of us have sold. Like, has that affected my education? Probably. But I'm here. Okay. We know that in some communities, people are trading school for work. But the way they paint the picture of kids working on farms, we know it's not correct. Yet they persist at doing that because they want to demean our raw material. They are looking for alternatives to cocoa. The fact that we want to control the price, it upsets them. And we need to wake up to that. And we need to wake up to it, not just to talk about it, but to strategize to deal with it. You get me? And that's what I don't see enough of. We make a lot of speeches. I listened to a voice of a Zimbabwe guy, Manangagwa, talking about what they needed to do because of COVID and things. And I say, we say a lot of things that we want to do, but we don't really do it. You know, we shouldn't be talking about what we want to do with after. We should be reporting progress. We should be saying, by the way, trade between Ghana and Nigeria has increased by 60%. Trade between, you understand? But we're always like, okay, it's time for the new global standard. It's time for a new global conversation. So the African, at least the Ghanaian, is not able to really implement the change. We conceptually understand what is happening. When you listen to our president talk, like, for example, when he met Macron a couple of years ago, when you listen to him, he knows what is happening. Okay, so it's not as if they don't understand that we are in this game where we are being used as pawns, where we are considered to be the ones who just bring the raw material, not supposed to add any value, where if you want to develop economically, you will face resistance. I mean, look at what China is saying. China is basically telling the US that we have a right to economic independence. It's like, I mean, isn't that supposed to be, you know what I'm saying? It's like, why are you, so now US says China is your biggest rival because China is stealing their intellectual property or whatever. The Chinese people just want to have a better life. And when we also wake up and say we want to have a better life, and I'm not saying that means we should go and fight anybody, but you should be able to take control of your resources, get more from what you produce, add value to what you produce. I mean, develop your own skills and produce what you eat. I just read a story last week that we are supposed to open our market to US pork. Like, you can't even produce your own pork.
Your own, yeah.
All your rice, even local rice, Charlie, it's not easy. There's something fundamentally wrong, which is like a mental block to, look, almost everything we depend on, we need another country to do it for us. We're unable to make things, all right? And you cannot be free if you continue doing that, So I don't know, guys, how you can help me. There's a lot of stories here. IFF, Burkina Faso, France, cocoa story. There's some connection that I don't get, but maybe you can help me unravel it. Maybe I don't know who start. There's a connection somewhere. There's a connection somewhere.
You are the one seeing connections this morning.
I am.
But
there is.
Okay.
There has to be.
Okay, maybe we can discuss it in business. You can link it together.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll take two. I'll talk about the cocoa thing, and then I'll talk about Burkina Faso, Boku, the France issue, illicit financial flows, and
it's related.
On the illicit financial flows, let's start from there. There's a lot more for the governments to do than to tell us about some of these things. Okay, if you look at the system that has been set up in a lot of countries. Last time we looked at our gold export numbers, the legal versus the illegal, right? And how much of the gold was being sold illegally from here. You look at money laundering in this country, look at corruption, and that is where a lot of the IFF is. It mostly comes from a lot of times with government participation, or no, I won't say government, with state culpability and
state actors
and participation. Okay, so it is up to them to find ways to deal with this, and they have failed to do well in this space because they are not honest with each other. All of them benefit from it. All the persons, if it were African leaders who had met there, I'm not too clear who were present at the meeting, but I've seen the president of Niger there. I've seen our president, and I'm sure there would have been a couple of others. A lot of the West African countries and the political leaders and African countries in general thrive on IFFs. That is how they run their campaigns. That is how they build their eggs nest, as they call it, post when they will leave, for those who don't want to leave too, how they will continue to keep a hold on the country. Because how much money are you going to make as a president or as a politician legally, if not for IFFs? How much money? So a lot of that 88 billion?
Yeah. 88 billion.
$88 billion. Once we sit down and sift through it, you would realize that a large portion of it, yes, there's private participation in there, but a lot of it would come from state actors. Okay, so the homework is on them. They should stop telling us about it. Fix it. Because when you sit down to analyze it, you would realize that they are the ones who steal from the state. Nobody steals from the state more than state actors. Two is your concern up north. The Boku refugee situation, I think this is the second or third report we've had. This one, the number was slightly bigger than what we had the last time. The last time, I think we had 1,700 and something coming in when the last time we discussed this. Now it's what, 4,000 something.
4,000 at a stretch.
At a stretch. So the numbers are increasing. And that is why you always make this point about we need to be concerned about what happens in other parts of the continent, particularly those who are close to us, because you might think it's far away from you, but the ripple effects will be there. Because you remember the Liberian Civil War. It didn't happen in Ghana. But look at how we ended up hosting a lot of Liberians in this country for years.
You know what is troubling? When you listen to Aminu of Citi News, he's spent a few days at Tatale. And Tatale is close to the Togo border. It's not too far from, Zabzugu is close to Yendi. But I'm saying that whole area, you see, because the Burkina Faso spreads over Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, Benin, and Togo. All right. And the parts of Burkina Faso that they've taken control of, northern Benin and northern Mali. All right. So and I'm just saying, the northeastern part of Ghana is very poor.
Yes.
Okay. So apart from the Boko area, which is already troubled, when I look at Aminu's report from Zabzugu, hospital has nothing. The road is so bad. Yendi itself has had its own history. All right. I'm just worried about the whole...
The mix.
Yes, the security of the northern part of Ghana. And I know there are things being done there.
Yes.
But and I'm not saying France is probably like the best person to be in Burkina. Charlie, but for them to leave completely.
Yes, but
and for, some will say it's good riddance. But the question is, who's replacing them? Is the person up to any better?
It's a complicated situation. You see?
Do we need a replacement?
Yes,
well, because the government seems to think so. The Burkina Faso junta basically says that we need.
Essentially,
Sky,
we don't help.
You see, let me summarize the whole thing. A lot of economic shenanigans are based on military power. If you don't have military power, you don't have anything.
That's true.
And West African countries, most African countries have nothing.
Don't have military power.
That's the whole point. We have nothing. So we need. If you look at insurgency, sometimes you need. I won't say you need, but you've created a history of having Western armies helping local countries. Do you get my point?
Because the very nature of insurgencies is such that they are mobile. They are, they don't operate on standard warfare principles where our armies are equipped to deal with those things. So you have guerrilla style tactics. So you might need satellites to track. Very few African armies have access to their own satellites.
Why won't we equip our army with those things?
How,
But you don't even have
the
money
price
to,
of one
Yeah,
satellite.
so but make
to
them
keep your
make them
economy
here.
going.
How are you making the
But
satellite?
that's why you have tech.
Technology.
Why do you think Nkrumah built tech? Why do you think Nkrumah had Noguchi and all those things? Or the other one?
Your university
the
of
other one. No, the point
I
is
get the
that
point you're
there's a-
making.
see, if you don't, nobody's
We
going,
have not
nobody's
spent our
nobody's going to give you equipment that will defend you against it. If you don't have sense enough to equip your professors with the research tools to build it for yourself, that's their issue. So now we realize we need help.
Yeah.
Okay, we've not like COVID. We didn't even invest in making anything of all the things that you needed to support. Even masks, you couldn't make masks. So and I'm thinking, so what can we do?
Yeah, that's the point I'm trying to explain to you. That in
What's
the end,
what's the problem?
we find ourselves in a very difficult situation because we are surrounded by a lot of chaos. Burkina Faso is particularly troubling because of the issues they've had and their inability to control large parts of the country. And by that I mean the central government and the spread of the insurgencies. And the last time we had this conversation, I spoke to you about how coastal West Africa seems to be a target. And by coastal West Africa, I'm talking about Ghana, Benin, Togo, where with a lot more of the recent attacks we've seen are shifting there because they're beginning to get affected. Togo has had incidents recently. Benin have had 2 or 3 incidents, whereby 2 or 3 years ago, these were places where you would not hear these kind of reports. Now, Ghana is starting to host 4,000, and it looks like we had 1,000 something 2 or 3 weeks ago. Now, 3 weeks later, we're having 4,000. So what does that tell us? That in 2 or 3, and in another month, how many are we getting? Now, if those people arrive, it means that we have to deploy logistics because we have to house them. We have to vet them. We have to provide a certain level of security. There could also be outlets for some of the extremist elements to pass through, posing as refugees, come in and then try and destabilize, to make a point. So there is a need to find solutions, but the Burkina Faso problem is a really big one. Recently, they've asked, Mali took that first decision first, and now Burkina Faso have followed to say that, look, we don't want French elements on the ground. And the French...
Chad is also on...
Let me ask a question. I noticed a relationship between military juntas in these countries and a certain disdain, dissatisfaction, or
For France, yeah.
they are fed up with France. So it's like the military governments are saying they want an alternative.
They want a new friend.
You see, it's a very complicated situation when it comes to those countries and France, in the sense that Macron, particularly, if you look at his language, his tone, he's been considered a bit of a snob in that regard.
Very.
That those who have allowed, he's granted. There's a speech he gave at a university in Ouagadougou. Did not go well at all.
They usually hooted at him.
Yes, he's given speeches in Rwanda. Did not go down well. So basically, he's not been viewed very nicely. But it's not just him. Sarkozy had issues. Francois Hollande had issues. And let's be honest, to Macron's credit, he took on some of the big decisions that Sarkozy, Hollande, and
all of them
refused to deal with in Mali and Burkina Faso. But the situation also is this, and it's something that we tend to ignore, Bernard. The military hunters in those countries are very popular
amongst the citizens.
Amongst the citizenry.
Yeah. So are they reflecting what the citizens want?
Yes.
So the citizens are fed up with France.
Yes.
But why?
It's not that they are just fed up with France. Basically, France has always portrayed itself as the savior. Our economy is tied to you. The safer is this. We have issues. You are unable to solve the problems for us, which is the violent extremists who are terrorizing us. You've brought in a lot of soldiers. We are not seeing. That is because, listen to this one as well. The soldiers of France have to operate within international convention. There are lots of things they cannot do. For the regular Joe working in Ouagadougou or working in a part of Burkina Faso where they are getting bombed, raped, kidnapped on a daily basis, international conventions mean really little to them. They might see a French battalion who will tell you that, okay, we have to engage under these conditions. What they are looking for is
quick action.
These people are dead.
Challenge.
Kill them. Why are you not killing the people? Kill them. So the lack of action means, or the inability of the French boots on the ground to respond in a certain way is what has made the Russian response more popular, because the Wagner group is noted for its brutality. And it's really
within the confines
of.
But do we know what that
things
will mean for the future? To have
it's not about what it means for the future.
Group like this.
No, but you see, that's the point I'm making. That we live in Ghana, we don't have Burkina Faso's problems.
No. I'm just saying that.
No, I'm just telling you how. I'm just saying, let us think
how the Burkinabe will look at
comprehend this. It's not. It will not be fair to comprehend this from a Ghanaian perspective. Let's think about this as the unprotected rural Burkinabe who every week gets raped, pillaged, assaulted, or bombed by one raider or the other, and there's nobody to help.
Now you have Wagner that's
Wagner
providing
says,
an almost equal response.
The difficulty people have with Wagner is, one, yes, they are brutal operational tactics, and two, the fact that they come in and they say, okay, give us gold,
so
or
the
give us this.
whole African Union doesn't have a standby force.
That's all. It's been a problem.
To even go and help Burkina Faso.
Who's paying for
it?
Those who are doing the talking.
Nigeria used to pay a lot of these things. Nigeria has its own problems. Nigeria is the biggest contributor.
But you don't,
to some of these
you don't
things.
finish solving your problems before you solve another person's in the context of nationhood, because all the countries that do this international thing, you know that once there's instability creeping in, it will come to your doorstep.
Yes, but
so you don't finish solving your problem before you say.
But hold on. But personal sense, you see, that's the thing. That's why I'm saying that if the moment Ghana decides to put boots on the ground to say we are helping Burkina Faso, so-called proper.
Yeah. What does it mean?
What will the populace? You have a lot of people in Ghana who will tell you, "Hey, that's same way fire home."
But we are in Lebanon. We are in South Sudan.
Different.
So I'm not even saying we should go. What I'm saying is that the whole arrangement that a country like Burkina Faso needs to depend on a private military contractor from Russia to defend it. It tells you the nation is not a viable country.
No, because you see, it's not about just being viable. That's the point. That's why I'm saying that you can talk about viability, but you're not the one getting raped, pillaged every day.
No, I'm not talking from the citizen's perspective. I'm talking from the leader's perspective.
But the leader's reality is the citizens' reality.
And the leaders have subscribed to this option.
Yeah, you see, you still don't get me. My argument is not that Wagner should leave. My argument is that how did you get to a place where Wagner is what you have to now depend on?
Well, that's
where I'm coming from. I'm not saying Wagner should go. I'm saying, what did you leave undone over 60 years of independence, supposedly, that has left you so vulnerable that when 4,000 French soldiers leave, you have to depend on Wagner?
So then that becomes the outcome of years of underdevelopment, poverty, corruption, and all those things, because it got to a time, basically, there were more, Burkina Faso and Mali would have more troops on peacekeeping than actually in the country. Why? Because they pay for peacekeeping. Peacekeeping became basically an outlet for even the economies of those countries to make money. You understand? So if they go on peacekeeping, what do they also get? Proper equipment. Equipment that is not available in country.
This is complicated. Anyhow, as I said, this is not the major topic. We are just sort of bouncing around mentally on all the issues. So feel free to join us on anything that is on your mind. We'll bring you a report, our correspondent did, on the child labor on cocoa issue much later in the show. And there's also something that I thought would interest you guys. There's a low-key fight over importation of used electrical appliances. Have you heard of that?
Over the weekend.
So, like, the government wants to ban importation and sale of used electrical appliances
and replace it with,
because there are some companies that make them here. So, for example, when you come to like wires, cables, Nexans and Co do it here. So they are basically saying, yeah. So for some, they can get them here, or you can import the new ones. But the people who import the used ones are not happy. If I find time, we'll make some analysis on that. But before we get into that, Tech and Social Media Trends brought to you by Vodafone and Cal Bank. The Vodafone One Ghana promo is here. With just one city, you can have 20 minutes talk time to all other networks and 1 gig data every day between 5 a.m. and 11:59 a.m. Simply dial *530# subscribe and enjoy longer conversations and browsing. The Vodafone One Ghana promo is the best value offer in town and it's easy on your pocket. Wake up to great value only with Vodafone. And reactivate your Cal Bank account this holiday season and get more value. Get free access to our short code *771# CalNet and the Cal app when you reactivate your Cal Bank account. Now, simply call 0800 500 500 or chat with us online on our social media platforms and on WhatsApp. Cal Bank, forward together. And Nathan is back with the trends.
Well, a couple of things trending. A very interesting trend. Here we go. Here we go is trending. Now, that phrase over time has been associated with Italian football journalist Fabrizio Romano. Now, it's trending because the deadline, the close of the window is quickly approaching. And Ghanaian fans of Chelsea especially have jumped on the here we go trend. Now, the story is that Chelsea officials are said to be in Portugal seeking the signature of Enzo Fernandez.
Chelsea cry, why?
Now, the story...
I need a restraining order on Chelsea.
Have you seen that video?
They are buying too many players. So the story is that Chelsea wants to buy him before.
They want to buy Enzo Fernandez before the window ends. And Ghanaian Chelsea fans have also jumped onto the here we go trend.
But here we go for me is the first book I ever read. when I was in university primary school, they used to give us books. They call them My Little Books and other books. So the first book in the series is called Here We Go.
I see.
And the second book was called Off to Play.
Well, other trends, Andrea Ayew is also trending. Andrea is trending because over the weekend, news emerged that he and his Qatari club Al Sadd agreed to mutually terminate his contract.
If you go and enjoy Ronaldo in Saudi,
nobody
top some of the petrodollar.
Yeah, where he's going. Another trend, Mohamed Kudus over the weekend. So two things happened in relation to Kudus. He came off the bench to score for Ajax, and then he was named Swag Footballer of the Year. So the two things have combined.
He scored for Ajax.
Yes, have combined to put him.
They try.
Yeah, on the trends. Another thing that's also trending is Sheldon.
What does he done?
Sheldon. So over the weekend, in the last few weeks, he and Shatawale have been going at each other. Now the beef, quote unquote, got a little intense over the weekend. Shatawale says he's reporting Kojo Sheldon to the Ghana police for cyberbullying. So that's what's happening between the two gentlemen. So a number of trends, football-related trends, entertainment-related trends. In terms of tech news and an interesting one coming from China. Now, China's smartphone sales endured a record fall in 2022.
Why?
Tumbling 13% to their lowest level in a decade as COVID controls and a slowing economy sapped consumer appetite. That's according to data from a third-party research firm. So it looks like China's smartphone numbers, Charlie Songway.
That was taking social media trends.
Massa, make what make you go. We need to go to the bank first before we go and pay for the things. Time no day like that too.
Relax. Everything there in my hand.
Massa, we need to get the cash.
Forget
of customizing a name inside any of their exquisite luxury watches for any purchase above 2,000 cedis. This is until February 15. Go online to Caveman Watches on all platforms. Better still, you can walk into their showroom and factory on the Ajungano Road adjacent the new AstroTurf. Place your order now. Call 055-751-6744 or visit cavemanwatches.com for more information. So the other story that I thought was related, even though somebody wasn't seeing the relationship, the cocoa story. And Nathan just gives the highlights of this cocoa story.
Well, this is the Daily Graphic. And the story says, now, cocoa farmers in the Western region have described as criminal, a false report by foreign media that staged and filmed a scene in a cocoa farm in the region under the guise of being cocoa board officials. This followed publication by Qatari-based media organization Al Jazeera, whose reported visit Ohiampe Nika in the Menfi West district of the Western region and disguised themselves as officials of Cocoa Board. Now, a former assembly member for the area, Samuel Oforiasari, who featured in the Al Jazeera report, said the media house did not tell them about their intention. Now, it said, or the story says that in the farm, the Al Jazeera journalists, so essentially 3 of Mr. Jan's teenage nephews. So there's a farmer called Mr. Jan, Mr. Owusu Jan, whose farm was nearby, and that was where the filming took place. Now, 3 of his teenage nephews had come back from church. They were asked to change and go to their uncle's farm. Now, in the farm, the Al Jazeera journalists told the farmers to use their machete to harvest the pods from the tree and give it to the children to open them so they could film. Now, he said that Ohiampe Nika community were waiting for the support of the supposed Cocoa Board officials, but they were shocked to see themselves in an Al Jazeera TV report, and the report was on child labor on their farms. And they say that, quote, "We don't use children or engage in child labor in our cocoa production, and it is therefore wrong for Al Jazeera to visit us on Sunday and pose as Cocoa Board officials and stage a scene to support the assumption and broadcast it to the world," end quote.
All right, let's talk to Obed Owusu Adai, who's a campaigner for Eco Care Ghana, and he's also a co-convener of the Ghana Civil Society Cocoa Platform. What does he make of this very interesting story that there was a false report which has gone viral? Farmers said they'll seek legal redress because they feel that they've been misrepresented. We're also told that Director of Special Service at Cocoa Board, Charles Nyaglo, described the actions of the Al Jazeera team at Ohiampe Nika as criminal, and that the report had subsequently been lodged with the police. The police were currently investigating the incident and appealed to all those who played a part in the discussion to come and assist. So thanks for joining us, Mr. Owusu Adai. Good morning.
Good morning, Bernard.
I believe this story is not new to you, as has been captured in the graphic. The pushback from the community that the Al Jazeera report on their farm was a misrepresentation, and they were sort of tricked into even filming the kids holding the cutlasses and things. You know a bit about this story, don't you?
Yes, I do, Bernard, and we've been following it for some days now.
So what do you make of it?
Thank you, Bernard, once again. There are 2 issues to this story, Bernard. I think the first part is the failure of the journalism. So you're a journalist, and I apologize that probably I'm attacking you, but we see it as a failure of journalism, that somebody comes outside the country and is able to have access to these communities, and they went with a local representative who went to stage such a scene. So first, it's a failure of journalism and the whole issues around how stories are captured in our communities. The second part is the issue of child labor itself, how it was reported and how the story has been told over the years. I think that is the second part of the problem. And for me, as somebody who has worked in this space for some time, I would not deny the fact that there are some semblance of child slavery, child labor within the cocoa supply and value chain. But the issue has been how it is told to the international community. And this is a typical example of how stories are taken on the ground, and they are twisted to meet a certain narrative or to address a certain narrative. And so those are the failures that we identify in this reportage. And I'm happy that Cocoa Board and other stakeholders have begun to take action. And we are also taking action by trying to identify these communities specifically and go there and look at whether or not some of the interventions that government has put in place, like the child labor monitoring remediation systems, do they operate there, and what is the community doing about some of these issues? So that would be my initial take on it.
So on the two things you identified, because we have not heard from Al Jazeera again or yet on this allegation, I really hesitate to proceed with the view that this is criminality, and I believe the police are investigating. But at least we've heard the community say that they were tricked into doing this, and the whole thing was staged. But let's go to the second issue, which I feel is a more general discussion we can have. Is there a sense in which some media wish to portray our cocoa in a certain light, so that beyond this particular Ohiampe Nika story, do you sense that there's an eagerness by particularly Western media houses to keep hammering on the issue of child labor in cocoa? Number two, is this child labor in cocoa thing such a big issue in reality? If you come to Ghana knowing the way our communities work, is it such a major issue that we should be dealing with, irrespective of what the Western people think about it?
Yes, so Bernard, on the first issue, yes. I think for a very long time, and there isn't a week that goes by without me granting an interview to an international media that is looking to talk about some of these issues, and they always come with a pre-defined angle that they want to divert the conversation towards. So there is this narrative on the international scene, and especially in Europe and in the Americas, that especially Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire, there is a high incidence of children working on cocoa farms, and that has been the narrative, and they always try to find stories that will embellish or will speak to those narratives. So that is a response to the first issue. On the second issue of cocoa child labor being a problem within the cocoa supply chain, yes, Bernard, I will admit that for a very long time it has been an issue, but with a very big bang, that there has been consistent efforts and attempts, both from the Cocoa Board, from civil society, and from the international community, even some of the international community, to support in addressing these problems. And there are several reasons that brings about this semblance of child labor within the cocoa supply chain. The number one issue is cocoa pricing. And people don't always want to talk about that. They want to talk about the symptoms of the problem, but not address the causes. The cause is the root cause of the farmers or cocoa farmers wanting to use children as labor on their farms because they don't have money to pay for labor. You go to some of these cocoa growing communities and they share the landscape with illegal mining. And these illegal miners pay 200 cedis per day for labor. The cocoa farmer can only pay 40 cedis, at maximum 50 cedis per day for labor. And so obviously there is this sense of the farmer wanting to use their children to support them in their farm. But I think we need to put child labor within the context. What at all is child labor? It's not that children are not supposed to support their parents in the farm, but it's about, does it deprive by helping their fathers in the farm, does it deprive them of their childhood? Are they being threatened by the tools and equipment that they are using on the farms? I think these are the bigger stories we need to be looking at. Because for me, I'm a product of cocoa farm. I grew up in a cocoa farm in Kensekom, area, and some of my fond memories were the days that we went to the farm on Saturdays and Sundays to break cocoa pots, and the whole family, the whole household will come together. We cook on the farm. That is not wrong, and I think that is what the international community needs to understand, that is not wrong. It's part of our social cultural upbringing, and it's not wrong. It is when it is depriving the children of their childhood, when it is exposing them to harm. Those are the areas we need to be focusing on and trying to address. Again, when you go to these communities, they are deprived when it comes to social amenities, schools, the distance. And I always use myself as an example. We used to walk almost 3-4 miles to go to school. And so when you are in such a community and you don't feel entitled, or you don't get access to these schools, and you can't go to school, you need to walk. The alternative would be to skip school and probably go to the farm and support your parents. So these are the problems within the sector, and we need to try to address them. It's not a matter of taking children to the farm and exposing them to international media.
Yeah.
No, there are fundamental problems we need to discuss and address.
Have we seen a more concerted effort at pushing these stories since the Ghana-Cote d'Ivoire living income differential discussion? Because some people see that as an attempt to form a certain cartel, because Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire together will probably be over 80% of cocoa beans. And I feel okay, let me tell you what I feel, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's hypocrisy, because if the Western societies believe that they must protect the African child, giving the African cocoa farmer better terms for their cocoa is the first step to take, right? So why are you more concerned about a certain child working on a farm, even if he's going to go to school later, as against cocoa farmers demanding more for their cocoa? Because if you look at the cocoa value chain, from the bean to the bar, the last time Oxfam did a study I saw, less than 10% of the value goes to the farmer, from the transporters to the people who do the value addition at various stages, to the marketers and all those guys. More money is made in the upper echelons of the value chain than at the lower side. And if somebody wants justice for people, should they not be thinking about making that skewed income earnings on the value addition a bit heavy on the south side, if you get my point? Should that not be the focus? So I think it's hypocrisy. I don't know whether your work allows you to say that, but for me, I think it's hypocrisy. I don't know what you think.
No, Bernard, I think you are perfectly right. And anybody who knows me, who has heard me talk about this issue, that is the word I always use, hypocrisy, especially on the part of the so-called chocolatiers, the chocolate companies. I don't want to mention it, but you know them, those who make all these high-end chocolate bars that we enjoy, the ones that we import into the country. They are making the cocoa industry is worth $130 billion, Bernard. And just as you rightly said, at the last count that was done by Oxfam, it was 6.6% of the value of this industry that goes to the farmer. So it's less than 10% that goes to the farmer. And so obviously, if you want to address challenges at the downstream, you need to make sure that you tackle the underlying causes of those challenges, which we all know, Bernard, that is where the hypocrisy comes in. We all know that only 10% of farmers in Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire live beyond the poverty line. 90% of them live on less than $2.14 a day, which is the poverty line done by the UN. So the issue is, why are they not putting more of the money into the farmers' pockets? Why are they only lining the pockets of their investors on the international market? And that is because Bernard, you know this, you're an economist, you know this more than me. The more you impoverish them, the more you keep them at that level, you're able to control them. You're able to have control over cocoa as a commodity, and that is what is happening. Bernard, let me give you this. When Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire came together in 2019 to initiate the living income differential, before the LID of $400 was introduced, there was a country differential of about £360 for both Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire. Do you know what the industry did? They went to Berlin, and I was in Berlin when they accepted to pay the LID of $400. What they did was to take away the country premium or the origin differential. So what they did was they gave with one hand and took with the other. They accepted to pay with right, but they took the country differential with the left hand. And so at the end of the day, it is zero.
So Obed, beyond exposing their hypocrisy, what should Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, Nigeria, countries within the region that produce the seed, what should we be focusing on to change this very egregious 6.7% value thing? What should our policy thinkers be doing aggressively?
Bernard, it's about value addition. If we want to get more out of the value chain, we know where most of the funds or most of the money goes. The money goes into the final product. So I believe if West African countries that produce majority, almost 70% of global cocoa, if we want to get maximum value out of the product, out of the cocoa, we need to begin to add value to our beans. And we need to also consume more within the African region. We don't consume a lot of cocoa products in Ghana. It's only during Valentine's Days and on certain festival occasions you see people clamoring to go and get chocolate and all that. If you want to get value out of the beans, let's first of all put a lot of secondary and tertiary production in place. Let's build more. Let's allow for more industries to be established to process the beans. And then the second thing, which my friend Alex Asambo and his team at the Ghana Cote d'Ivoire Cocoa Initiative have already begun doing, is to talk and dialogue with these international communities to understand and appreciate the difficulties that the farmers are going through to pay them a living income to be able to survive. So aside adding value, we also need to get more out of the price on the international market. I think that is how we'll be able to
But what about market and consumption? So yes, you need to add value. But I ask myself, how many Ghanaians buy chocolate? How many Nigerians, Sierra Leoneans, Botswanans or Africans consume chocolate? And if they do, where do they buy it from? Because when I look at global chocolate consumption, a lot of this is China, and I see that a lot of the European countries are selling across to that part of the world. African countries per capita consumption of chocolate products is very, very small. So is there not a need for some promotion on that side too? Because beyond, as I say, you see, because you can shout for all you want, but if you are not buying the thing, is if a cocoa marketing company or what's the name of it, CPC or Nice Chocolate or whatever, if they produce the thing, people are not buying it here, there's no way they can continue adding the value. So I don't know what you think about that. Whether we need to now start some campaign, free SHS, free cocoa chocolate drink or something, so that more people will consume the thing. You get my point?
Yeah, I get your point, Bernard. And I remember on a very, very funny side, I remember in Parliament when this 600 million cocoa loan was, they were going for, they earmarked about 5 million to supply inmates in the prisons with chocolate drinks. I don't know if you heard about that. But I mean, on the more serious note, I think Ghana hosts AFTA, the African Free Trade Continent, Africa Continental Free Trade idea. I think it is about time we began to utilize some of these opportunities. We need to do more intra-African trade. And if we don't do that, we have a population, combined population of 1.5 billion across Africa. If we begin to trade among ourselves and consume our commodities, I think that is an entry point, a starting point. And you are right. If you don't consume, if you Michi or Mama, Kingsback, if we produce them in Ghana and we don't consume them here, at the end of the day, they will not make profit and they will be obliged to partner with international organizations or international companies and export the commodity. So the point you made is 100% spot on that we need to promote more local consumption of chocolate products in Ghana and in Africa.
Thank you, Obed, for your time. Obed Owusu-Adah is a campaigner for EcoCare Ghana, co-convener of the Ghana Civil Society Cocoa Platform. And one of the things I was trying to achieve with the interview is also to focus civil society. You know, civil society is very rich with advocacy against, as against advocacy for. So what I'm trying to say is they see an injustice and they want to correct it. But I feel when it comes to the issue of economic development, we must have to now promote for. So yes, you are exposing whatever somebody's agenda is. You are exposing all these bad things happening. But you also need to say, okay, let's promote Africans buying their own chocolate products. Because when you promote that, that creates a market for you. All right. So it's not just talking against what the Western people are doing or whatever, but finding a way of getting the conversation around value addition. And number two, money. See, in the past few months, I've been thinking a lot about money. And one of the things I've realized is, you're reading about ecosystems, our financial institutions are not set up to support real business. You know, if you listen to my interview with Yabena Mponsa very closely last week, he says, when you have any meaningful thing to do, local banks will not fund you. Why? They can get easy money from government, crowding out. We've said it before, I need to repeat it. So if Sky and Co, they've linked up with some cocoa farmers in Western North, and they have a huge cocoa processing plant in Tema, they won't get a loan from any bank in Ghana, because the bank can get 30-something% by buying T-bills, or even 20%. They can buy government bonds up until this. So I'm trying to link everything to what we are discussing, that if we wouldn't, so that the issue of economic development goes back to the question of capital. And which is why the debt exchange is such an inimical thing in my view, because when people save money to invest it, hoping to raise enough money for capital, and they are told that they will have to lose part of that money, a whole generation's faith in the financial system goes down, and you're not going to get people invest in these passive income streams anymore. All right, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. I'm going back to a story that our own what's his name? Kwesi Adjei, he did it when was this, last week? Or a while back. He's our Western Regional correspondent, so he actually followed up on this story as well. So I just want to bring you highlights of what the assemblyman told him when he went. And we are still waiting for Al Jazeera to come back. If they are going to defend the story, they're going to sack the journalist and the producer. So it's either one way or the other. Is that true or false? If the journalist is right, tell us what he did right. If it's wrong, you have to take action against him. So here's Kwesi Adjei speaking to members of the community, including one Samuel Fosu Asari, who witnessed the Al Jazeera recording and explained that the reporters asked the children to carry cocoa pots and take shots of them.
For them to record.
They call the children to pick the cocoa pots. Like, they want to see if the family are feeding from the cocoa. So they call the children, hey, you come, pick that cocoa pot. Then they will take you a short camera or short video. And you pick the cocoa, carry it on your head, put it in a basket, carry it as if you want to go and pour, or you want to go and pick many and pour. So they instructed them. After that, they give them chocolate. Even some of the children have never seen chocolate before. So they asked them, have you eaten chocolate before? They all said no, including the father or the family as a whole. They have not even eaten chocolate before. So they told them that this is what they use your cocoa to produce. So if you have not eaten it before, you've eaten it today. So we all became happy that they've never eaten chocolate before. So for their life, once they've eaten chocolates, I'm not working on the farm. Even me, myself, I'm a CCPC member, child rights. So the children are not working in the farm. It was a Sunday. Some of the children were even at church service, children's school or Sunday school. So because they went to the father to call the family, he called the children that all my children should come. So they all came, and then they asked them to follow to the farm. They don't go to farm, we don't use them for farming business. They need to farm clothes. The children were changed to farm clothes before they went to farm. Yes, because the farm was closer to the house, so they were all asked to change before they went to the farm. They were asked to do that? They were asked to do that. Yes, because I was there. I saw everything. But I didn't even know, because when you told me it's a family, I thought it's a family that you want to know the source of income that they earn. So if you are acting or telling them that you should change yourself, dress like as a farmer, or the father too has to dress as a farmer. I don't know, like what we are looking for from the government was not what the caption. So the caption was different. We told them our problem. We don't have potable water, electricity, and the roads. So we told them our problems. And you can see yourself that we have a road problem. Stage manage. It's a stage manage. Like a script you read, then act it. Because they couldn't write a script for them. They act you. Do this. So even they can't speak to you, so the Ghanaian correspondent or the reporter is a Ghanaian woman.
Was interpreting.
Yeah, she was interpreting to the farmers. She was interpreting. Hey, you pick this cocoa, you are fat cocoa, no? So the children will take the cocoa. Because if you ask the children to take the cocoa, somebody who is in nursery or KG don't know take English. The English, you can't speak or how to. So fat cocoa, no? Then he will pick it. And then he will take a short video or camera. Well, I didn't know it was not from Cocoa Board. And the reports that they didn't send to Cocoa Board. So to me, I am not happy for their coming and even what they came here to do. I am not happy at all because before you ask somebody to do something, which means you have to let the person know where you are taking it to. So they told us that they are taking it to Cocoa Board. They are taking it to Cocoa Board for Cocoa Board to come out to help us. Meanwhile, for this one, I don't know if they sent it to Cocoa Board. They didn't even send it to Cocoa Board. They didn't even to call us. Before you take me a short video or you ask me to act, before you publish the video, send me the link before. Let me watch how I manage myself in your video. If there's a mistake, let me tell you, don't publish this one. Publish this one. But you publish the whole thing out. Meaning, you steal from me. So I have the right to sue them and they can be sued. Yes, if I know where they are. Even the Ghanaian reporter have called Labi to call her. He said when he called, he doesn't pick. They show their Al Jazeera identity card. And then the country reporter also showed her ID card. So meaning we know they are from Al Jazeera.
All right, now, the couple of things I need to just say here whilst we discuss this. So, there are other issues with cocoa that we have mentioned before that I want to reiterate. For example, Obed mentioned how low proceeds from cocoa is forcing a lot of farmers to offer their farmlands for galamsey. So, one of our largest foreign exchange earners, so it's almost like the two largest foreign exchange earners are fighting each other. More galamsey, less cocoa. And it shouldn't be that way. So something needs to be done about low cocoa proceeds. So the amounts we pay our cocoa farmers, we need to have a conversation about that. And I feel the Cocoa Board arrangement, produce buying company, that whole conversation, living income differential, the Western world, there has to be a proper global conversation around cocoa. And I think our president and the Ivorian president can lead that conversation. Beyond the living income differential, I think there's a lot to be said about African consuming cocoa, justice in the cocoa value chain. All of that must be brought together into one. So that's point number one. And then point number two, Sky, I think you have more information on this. Yeah. How the guy, when the guy said the guy hasn't seen cocoa before, I'm sure it was somebody whose father or uncle owns a cocoa farm has not seen chocolate before. I don't believe that. Fred, please, I want you to call a name and let me ask him whether that place is such a far village. Fred, if you are listening to me, because Ohiampe Nika should not be such a far place that call a name for me. That the guy hasn't seen chocolate in his life.
Yeah.
That somebody comes to deceive him with chocolate to do this.
Yeah. This is 2023.
It's terrible.
It is terrible. And Bernard, I mean, the facts will seem to bear bear that position out? Because I've just been looking at some numbers from the Economic Times, what exactly the global cocoa market is, the level of consumption around the world, and particularly what's happening in Africa. And looking at the numbers, Bernard, it's so shocking that a continent of about 1.3, 1.4, 1.5 billion people, the numbers here suggest that despite producing the majority of the world's cocoa, between Ghana and Côte d'Ivoire, we're producing 60%.
70, according to
conservatively 70-60%. The numbers suggest that Africans only account for 3.28% of the chocolate that is consumed annually.
Mm-hmm.
So that of the chocolate that is produced annually around the globe, we in Africa are consuming less than 4%. The number actually suggests that 3.28%.
Is this SSA, South Africa?
No, this is throughout the whole of Africa.
So South Africa, Nigeria,
everything put together, according to the Economic Times, yes.
It doesn't include Egypt.
Everything put together, we are doing 3.28% according to the Economic Times, and this was published just a couple of years ago. And Bernard, what actually shocked me was that the U.S. accounts for 20% of the world's chocolate consumption.
Wow!
It is the world leader at 20.96% of the net cocoa imports. So a country that has its numbers in the millions, and a continent that has its numbers in the billions, because we are doing 1.345 billion, and we are supposed to be the world's marketplace, or the farm gates are located in our part of the world, producing cocoa for the consumption of the world. We are consuming less than 4%.
Let me talk to Enim. Akwesi Enim is our Western Regional correspondent. He followed up on this story. He met Samuel Ofosu Asare, did the interview as a follow-up. Akwesi, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Bernard.
Is the name of the town Ohiampenika or Ohiampenipa?
Ohiampenipa.
Poverty doesn't like you, man.
That is it.
Okay, that one there we know. But I thought there was also another place called Ohiamajin, but that's in Takrady.
Yeah, I think there are several of them.
There are several Ohia towns. Yeah. Okay, so where is this Ohiampenipa community?
This is very close to Samuel Boy. Samuel Boy is the Amenfi West municipality of the Western region, which shares borders with the Western North. So it is the last municipality before you hit the Western North.
I was actually there on a caravan last year, and as I need to tell you that my best experience was on Western region, because that was the part I hadn't been to before. So, but that's a different conversation. Now, I heard Mr. Ofosu Asare tell you that one of the reasons they were able to trick the people was that the boys, I think there were 3 boys, had never seen chocolate in their life. Is it true that a teenager in a town close to Samuel Boy has never seen chocolate? That's highly improbable, is it not?
Bernard, to some extent, it could be true, because when you go to some of these farming communities, eating chocolates is not part of their lifestyle. So it could be true. It could be true that it's because of that. But that is, I would say, that is not the reason they got them to speak. I think, according to the gentleman's narration, they got to town, even spoke with the father of these children, and told them that they want to sort of put out their concerns, their plight as cocoa farmers. So, knowing that they have some social developmental issues, the father agreed to cooperate with these people who later turned out to be reporters from Al Jazeera, and led by their country reporter. And so it was in the course of the interactions with them that the man brought out the chocolates, trying to explain to them that this is one of the products or one of the byproducts from the chocolate that you produced, and asked them if they've eaten some before. So it wasn't the original thing that got them to speak.
So it was the cocoa board angle, the deception of the cocoa board angle, that convinced them to do this report.
That is, they actually convinced them that they are fixing whatever they will say to Ghana Cocoa Board for them to see to their consent.
Okay, but still, A few things I want you to clarify for me. One of the things Obed said to me in the interview was that because cocoa farmers are getting so little money for their cocoa, it's not even of course, which is why they'll be deceived to do such a thing. The issue of losing lands to Galamsey is also big, because when they look at the amount people promise them for mining versus what they will get after whatever amount of effort on the cocoa, they don't think it's viable. What is your observation about that also in the context of Galamsey, cocoa trees, and also aging cocoa farmers? What can you tell me about that?
But cocoa farmers have gotten to a point where they feel the annual earnings they get from this cocoa business is not the game changer when it comes to their standard of living. And so looking at the mining industry and how you can get a bulk money from people who want to use your land, which can change your land, your life, within a short space of time, they feel it's better to allow some of these cocoa farms to go away. Don't forget, if you go to some of these cocoa farms today, farmers who have sold portions of their land for cocoa, Galamsey or illegal small-scale mining extraction, are able to put up some few rooms here and there. And so with the Galamsey, they're able to see some, huge sums of money within a short space of time, instead of the little money they get annually. Some of these cocoa farmers even borrow when the cocoa season is off. When they're experiencing the off season when it comes to harvesting cocoa. And some of them even borrow from cocoa the purchasing officers, the cocoa purchasing officers. They borrow from them when they are off season, and when the cocoa season comes in, they whatever harvest that they get, it is deducted. So even before the harvest comes, they've already spent the money. And if I listened to your interview where the gentleman said that the cocoa industry is about 120 or 160 billion Ghana cedis, $1 billion, and Ghana Ivory Coast put together, we're getting about 6. That is less than even 6% of all what comes out of it. And this is what trickles down to the farmer. And so until we get to a point where value addition is actually happening in Ghana, and the country is making some good money, where some of this money will be turned into fixing social infrastructure, like good roads, access to healthcare, potable water, they are still going to be in this situation. If you listen to the interview, what got them, alarmed and be interested in this interview with the Al Jazeera reporters was the fact that they told them that they have social challenges. It's not even about money they put in their pocket. It was about the lack of, the level of underdevelopment in the area. That is what they spoke about. This is what they felt being cocoa farmers, they also deserve. These communities don't have the cocoa clinics that we have in Accra. They farm the cocoa, but they don't have cocoa clinic within their vicinity. And so until we reverse some of these developments back to them, they are always going to be vulnerable, and they will fall for some of these, sale of land, cocoa land, because I'm telling you, if they are truly making good returns from the cocoa extraction, the cocoa, business, they wouldn't be selling their land to Galamsey operators.
Now, Enim, that's all well and good. The other question I have, though, is, again, because you work in a lot of these cocoa growing communities, since Minister, what's his name, Edu, Cocoa Boss CEO, announced the living income differential with his Ivorian counterpart, it's been over 2 years, probably 3 or 4 years now. Has there been an increase in the amount paid to the farmers, or what are the farmers telling you, whether that's because the argument you used was that the farmer deserves better, and it's been a few years since it was introduced. In your interaction with the farmers in covering the cocoa sector, do you see any improvement in their livelihoods as a result of this initiative?
But I'll say no, because the sale of, evidence of that is the fact that people are still selling their cocoa to Galamsey operators. If that should stop, then it means that they have seen some positives in keeping their cocoa and their cocoa land. But as long as they haven't stopped selling these cocoa farms to illegal small-scale miners to come and operate so that they can make some good money, it tells you that whatever increments or proposals the government is making, it is not really answering or dealing with the crux of the matter. And that is, I mean, the general underdevelopment that they see within their community. The road to their communities are not accessible. And so even having those money, it brings cost. Some of them operate, some of these cocoa farmers have turned to using their little money to be doing this small tricycle business, and the roads are not good. So I think what we should be looking at is even the infrastructure within the vicinity of these cocoa communities. If we can upgrade these infrastructures, so that for me will be an evidence of an industry which is really thriving.
And obviously there is a link between cocoa mining, Galamsey. I'm looking at the map of cocoa growing areas in Ghana. I see a lot of Western North. I see a lot of Bono and Ahafo. And it seems as if particularly the western parts are also victims of Galamsey. Can you talk a bit about that? Does Galamsey sort of coexist with cocoa, or is it not? Is it that clear that there's a trade-off between cocoa farms and Galamsey, or is it just for a few places?
Bernard, it is really a big concern over here in the western region. I mean, if you go to places like Amanfi West, Amanfi Central, and Amanfi East, these are portions, beyond Takwa, from Takwa in Sarim, then you are moving into the Amanfi area. That will take you to the northern part of the center, which is the Dentra. Between the Dentra Iron Free, Dentra Iron Free to the Takwa portion, in between that portion is where we have the Amanfis, the East, Central, and West. All these areas are hugely, the cocoa industry is hugely impacted on by the illegal small-scale mining. It is not stopping. In fact, you need to take a ride on the main road from Takoradi to Sehuyo, and you see it on both sides of the stretch. The devastation and the sale of the sale of cocoa farms for Galamsey is very obvious, and our leaders use the route they see it. So that competition for existence is really there. I mean, the mining industry is really, reducing the cocoa farms that we have, and that is a concern.
But when you travel with Cocoa Board officials to visit these farms, how concerned is Cocoa Board about this Galamsey effect on the production? And are they doing anything beyond what they say in the news to show that they are trying to address the existential threat that Galamsey poses to cocoa farms?
Bernard, they are concerned, and they will tell you that is why they are also, improving the yield by cutting disease, affected, cocoa farms for new species that they are planting. But the point is that the Cocoa Board so far hasn't led any operation to clamp down. The sale or use of cocoa farms for illegal mining. That has not been under their purview or their mandate, and it still remains in the hands of the Ministry of Land and Natural Resources, or should I say the Minerals Commission. It's a concern that they express from afar, but in terms of taking the fight by themselves, that hasn't so far happened.
Edim, thank you for your time. I suspect we'll be talking to you a lot more on cocoa, on Galamsey, on even timber, because I'm sure that's another big issue. So thank you for your time this morning. Kwesi Ejenim is our Western Regional correspondent, providing further perspectives on the matter. We've been trying to raise an Al Jazeera person. We've not succeeded yet, but I believe by the time Sander comes up on Eyewitness, we would have gotten somebody.
Yeah,
we've already spoken to Cocoa Board on this many times, so which is why we sort of went off the Cocoa Board angle. And I also feel the conversation about the Galamsey should not be underemphasized. You see, I don't want to become a victim of just pointing out to a problem which is external.
Oh, yes.
Without dealing with my own internal problem. So the biggest threat to cocoa farmers is also Galamsey.
Yeah, that's true.
So somebody may be depicting you falsely for their own agenda, for your overall value. Somebody may be trying to fight against you, get your living income differential. But if you take money from somebody now, because cocoa farm is a legacy thing. Your great-grandfather had it, your father had it. But if you take money to allow somebody to destroy your land because you need money to pay school fees now, and you don't have the cocoa farm again, you have sold generational wealth for immediate. So we need to point that out very strongly.
Yeah.
And so I just want to say that you've seen the documentary.
I agree with you. Just before Sky comes, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Just my final point on this in focusing. You see, because we it's okay to be outraged, okay, but we should have a lot more outrage towards the conditions that have been created that lead to us to find these cheaper sources of labor, which end up being children. Another one being the loss of forest land, which is decisive for cocoa, which is the Galamsey issue you just raised. So those for me are some of the key internal issues that we need not to lose sight of, whilst also staying outraged at what obviously need not have happened. Sky.
Okay, so Bernard, I've seen the documentary, the particular portion that deals with the question of whether or not child labor is ongoing in our farms. And let me just give this right, that it is the case that indeed over the years there have been concerns about children working under hazardous conditions, sometimes on cocoa farms, and even beyond the farms, in mining pits, and then also areas where you have quarries, people go cracking stones in order to sell. But before I proceed, permit me to just quote the ILO, how they define child labor. They say that child labor is labor that refers to work that deprives children, and here I'm talking about any person under 18 years of age, of their childhood, their potential and their dignity, and that is harmful to their physical and or mental development. So what are the elements there? First of all, the person must be under 18 years of age and therefore qualifies to be referred to as a child. The work involved must deprive them of their potential as children and also growing up. Their dignity must also be taken away as a result of the work they are doing. And the work they are doing must be harmful to their physical and or mental development. It also refers to work that is mentally or morally dangerous and harmful to children. And he goes on to provide further definition. So the question we should be asking is whether these elements, as I've teased out, are satisfied in the documentary that we've seen. Looking at the documentary, it would seem that, as the guy rightly stated, the gentleman who Kwesi spoke to much earlier, the kids carrying one pod of cocoa or two in one hand, one on the head, and wearing what would seem to be their Christmas jumper or whatever it is. And that is presented to the world as evidence of child labor. I think, with the greatest respect to the Al Jazeera and the media house that did this, look, they should do much.
They should come and explain.
Exactly.
They should come and explain what they were trying to do.
What they were trying to do.
Because when you go to where children are actually being exploited, you know it.
Yeah.
You see it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you see people whipping them. So that they do the work. Go to the quarry sites where children are being abused.
Or some of the fishing communities.
Exactly, like the Germany, these areas on the Volta Lake.
Parents give their children for 500 CDs. And
jumping off canoes, going into water to fish and all.
Where they force them, you can see that, look, they are doing it against their will. Someone is insisting that it should be done. Not this one where the children look so happy doing what they were doing.
We'll come back to this story. I'll bring you effective in series and I'll go back to the story. By the way, the town is called Ohiampenika.
Enika.
So Enika is happy, joy.
Happiness, joy.
Oh,
Ohiampenika.
Poverty doesn't like joy.
Oh, yeah.
I want you to suffer. All right, so we're going to turn to the last episode of Effective Living series shortly, and then when we come back, we have more cocoa discussion for you. But the football fever never stops with Showmax Pro. Watch the best live games from the Premier League, Europa League, La Liga, Serie A, and more live from SuperSport or Showmax Pro. Plus, you can stream movies, series, and kids shows on any device. Sign up to watch the world's best football and the greatest local and international entertainment, all from only $59.99. Less than 60 Ghana cedis. Wow! 60 cedis. Go to showmax.com for more information. And yes, tell me about Lashibi.
Well, yes, Lashibi Funeral Homes. They say that, look, if you lose a loved one, it can be very, very trying. And they are in the business of, taking you through the entire process. They have 21 years of experience. So from picking up your loved one through burial or cremation and all, they have you covered. Call them on 0509 542 409 or send an email info@lashibifuneralhomes.com. You can visit their website, lashibifuneralhomes.com, for more information. Lashibi Funeral Homes and Crematorium, dignity for the deceased, comfort for the bereaved. Now, if you're thinking of moving to Canada or, you are trying to help somebody do that, talk to Askia Immigration Consulting Services. They are at 1 Airport Square, Airport City on the 8th floor. They are regulated, so they'll give you proper info on what you need to know. Visit their website, askiaimmigration.com, for free consultation, or call 0506 012 289 0241 318 890 0595 449 054. Send them an email. At askiaimmigration.com. Askia Immigration Consulting Services, the joy of greatness for your journey to Canada.
When we come back, it's our final episode of the Effective Living series. Michael Ohinefa says, don't sabotage yourself in 2023. He'll explain when we come back.
This is the Citi Breakfast Show, the city's biggest conversation.
Freight forwarding just got easier. Say goodbye to the days of excuses and disappointments with Hallmark Freight and Logistics Ghana Limited. Our attention to detail prevents customers from ever having to pay demurrage. Our quality and cost-effective services include ocean freight, air freight, customs clearance, logistics, warehousing, project cargo, ex-works, haulage, break bulk, and courier services. Trust us to get your goods from any part of the world delivered to you at your convenience. Have your air freight delivered in less than 24 hours. Sea freight in less than 48 hours, and land freight in just 4 hours. Visit our offices on the 4th floor of Allied Heights, Abelempe, or Cargo Village Airport. Call us today on 0302 915 335 or 0501 471 599, or visit our website hallmarkfreightgh.org. Hallmark Freight and Logistics, your trusted and reliable partner.
Okay, taste this.
Jollof, Mujollof. It's good to try something new every day.
88, 89, 10 more push-ups, guys.
Mommy, I'm tired. It's good to stay strong together. It's good when Mommy's resting. You get the rest you need because your family has got you.
Hey, Daddy, so all this food for you and me.
You're all invited.
Yay! Mom, chicken. Is the soup finished?
Please pass that shit on.
It's good to share nutritious meals together. Whatever goodness means to you, Frital stands with you. Frital, you deserve a life of goodness. This advert is FDA approved.
Shopping for all your school needs made easier with Prospectus Ghana. We have it all, from mattresses, trunks, choboks, brooms, cutlasses, hose, and more. Just bring along your list and we will deliver. Call us on 050 600 607. Locate us on the Graphic Road opposite Toyota Ghana. You can order online at www.prospectusghana.com. Prospectus Ghana, we are there for you. Prospectus Ghana, your one-stop shop for all your school items.
Prospectus Ghana, we are there for you.
your one-stop shop for all school items.
1xBet. Easy betting, easy winnings. 1xBet, the most reliable service to make deposits easily with high odds and numerous bonuses on the spot. Register now at 1xBet.com.gh. Use promo code BESTODDSGH to get 300% bonus up to 3,445 Ghana cedis on your first deposit. Easy to use, easy to have a chance to win. 1xBet, reliable bookmaker. Gambling can be addictive. Bet responsibly. Not for person under 18 years. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the Gaming Commission.
Join the conversation on the Citi Breakfast Show on Facebook at facebook.com/Citi97.3, Twitter at twitter.com/Citi973, and Instagram at instagram.com/Citi973 with the hashtag CitiCBS.
This is the Citi Breakfast Show, the city's biggest conversation.
Welcome to another edition of your Effective Living series. This is your 2023 starter pack. It's on Citi FM and Citi TV. My name is Bernard Avle. We've been trying to set you up for the year 2023, and we've focused on 4 specific areas. This is our final week where we've been talking about financial foundations. My aim today is to put it all together. So after listening to all the ideas on personal development, on emotional intelligence, on physical well-being, mental health, financial foundations, how do you strengthen yourself to achieve what you want to achieve? How do you take responsibility in order not to become your own worst enemy? My guest has been on the show before. He was on a few weeks ago where he spoke about the skills that are required for the 21st century and beyond. This morning is going to help us with what he calls overcoming self-sabotaging behaviors. Michael Ohinefa is our guest. Michael, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you very much, Bernard. And as always, it's a pleasure.
You don't get tired of coming on this show. Sometimes I wonder whether if I keep calling you like, Charlie Bernard, you've been doing this for years. Don't you get tired? You always get the energy, you always get the vim. So what is it that makes you keep coming back?
You know, I was checking my diary a few years ago, and I realized I've been doing this for 15 years.
Wow.
Yes, and I've done this with almost every host of the CBS.
Wow.
From Kwesiche Dakwa, Moro Awudu, Sami Battles.
Wow.
Everybody, when we were in school, we were still doing it.
Wow.
But it gives us pleasure when we go out there and people say, oh, I heard you on Citi, and this thing that you said, is, in fact, it's made this change in my life. I remember I went to Tamale to do something, and one guy, as soon as he heard my name, he came and gave me a big hug and said, are you there? And I think that year we had done something on self-management or self-organization. And he said that thing has really, really made an impact in my life. So that's what keeps us going. That's the fuel.
Why is this topic important, overcoming self-sabotaging behaviors?
It's extremely important. In fact, for me, it's crucial because in the last 4 weeks, viewers and listeners have listened and watched 16 presentations on various topics that covers just about every aspect of their lives. And what I see and hear as we go around the country teaching and training, people tend to say, oh yeah, what you are saying is good, but you know, the reality on the ground is. And I hear this a lot. What is that reality on the ground? Why do people think that speakers like us, what we see is not reality, that it cannot change their lives? People think that there's some change that must come from somewhere, some esoteric place. And so I think today, bringing everything home and saying, look, there are some things we do that prevents ourselves from achieving our goals, our dreams and aspirations for the year. And so it is important that we deal with that.
And is this to hint that at the end of the day, it is you, the person in the driving seat. It's not anybody else. And the fact that lots of people seem to think everybody is responsible except me. Is this one of the reasons why this topic is crucial?
You are spot on. Because whether it will be or not is up to us. Yes, of course, we give place and room for the macroeconomy. We give place and room for government policy. We give place and room for the context in which we are in. But if you read all the history books, History is always made by those who take up their own challenges and then run with it. Yes, the external can happen to you, but the only person who can stop you is you. So it is important that we know what these self-sabotaging behaviors are so that we can come out of it.
I see. So in line with this, do you have any specific points you want to share?
Number one, I believe that, and I wrote this in my very first book, which I released almost 15 years ago or so, Why Not the Best? And in that book, I said that some people have taken a vow of poverty by their own conduct and by their beliefs and by what they do. A vow of poverty meaning that they don't own up to anything. It's their parent, it is their neighbor, it is the school system, it is the government, it is the tribe they come from, it is the traditional authority. They blame everybody else but themselves. Now, we need to understand that as human beings, and I think we did this about 2 years ago when we treated comfort zone. As human beings, we are programmed to be comfortable and to keep within our comfort zone. That's how our mind operates. Because the sheer volume of information that our minds needs to process for us to adopt a new behavior is too much for it. And so the mind itself tends to tell us, Charlie, chill, don't stress yourself, because otherwise the mind itself needs to process so much to be able to allow us to learn a new habit, a new skill, or a new something. So naturally, if you yourself don't struggle to come out of that, your mind will keep you at where you are. Because it takes too much work for it to allow you to change. That's why change is so difficult for a lot of people, because that's how we are programmed to be. And so one is that you need to will to want out of your present situation. If you want to achieve a goal, you need to will it so bad that nothing can stop you. It is only when you reach that point that you can really turn your life around.
We are programmed to be comfortable.
Yes.
So if you don't will to take charge, you can't make a difference.
Yeah.
So that's point number one. Point number two.
Point number two, and this is very important. Where you are today, what you have achieved today is a direct reflection of 4 things that you did 15 years ago.
Is it?
Yes.
Wow.
Number one is the decisions that you took, the choices that you made, the habits that you formed, and the actions that you took.
Can you repeat that?
The decisions you made, the choices you made, the habits you formed, and the actions that you took. Yes. If you like, reflect over your life. And that's how all of us are. Where you are today is a direct result of the decisions you made 5 years ago. It's a direct result of the choices you made 5 years ago. It's a direct result of the habits that you have formed over these 5 years, and also the actions that you have taken over these 5 years. So for me, these are the 4 things that makes a man or a woman.
Wow.
Decisions, choices, habits, actions. This 4 makes up any human being. And so you see, when the year starts, if you don't tackle this 4, your year will remain the same. No matter the amount of olive oil or anointing oil you pour on your head.
If you don't tackle this 4, so even if I say your life will never be the same again, and you receive it,
you can jump as high as you can to resort. Nothing is going to change until an element in this 4 changes.
But I received it too. I received it too by faith. Still, it didn't work.
There's a story that a pastor was preaching. And he said, this year somebody will marry. And there were 2, an old lady and a young lady, they were all sitting down in the pew. And the old lady got up and said, so she got married.
Wow.
Yes. So even that one, you must take an action. Exactly. And that is how come they will tell you that you must sow into the prophecy. So you must even act on the prophecy to establish it, to let it come.
I'm thinking about your thing again. So the decisions.
Very good.
So like, I decide what course to do at SSS.
Good.
Or which university to go to.
Good.
The choices I make.
Good.
Who you marry.
Good.
All right. Habits. Daily, you can say you want to pray every day.
Very good.
Read a book a week.
Very good.
Actions. So every morning I come to work.
Good.
Exercise every day.
Very good.
So those are the 4. So you're saying my desires are not part of this 4?
No. The desires,
my ambitions, my hopes, my dreams.
They are expressed in the choice and the habit. Because when you desire something, you must act upon it to make it a reality. If you desire a lady, what do? You cannot desire a lady and marry her in your dreams. You must take action. You must move forward.
The desires are not enough. This is what matters.
It must be expression. It must find expression in the action that you take. If you wish to marry a lady in Citi for 15 years and let one sharp guy come here and he makes an approach and see we walk her down the aisle. So your desires cannot change your life. Your aspirations cannot change your life. What changes your life is the choices that you make, the habits that you form, and the actions that you take consistently on a daily basis. These are the 4. Now, until you change these 4 elements, you are taking a vow of poverty. You are deciding that your year will be the same. I have said it before, that when we have a new year, the year itself, as you know, is not new. But God, in his wisdom, gives us an eraser, 1st January of every year, to erase what we did the previous 365 days, so that we can continue to write. Now, what a lot of us have done is that we are holding the eraser. We've made a mistake, but we are afraid to clean, to wipe the eraser. And we keep saying, WAEC is difficult. Oh, the questions are hard. Oh, the teacher is some way. Why is it that my mates are right? But God has given you the eraser. All you need to do is to erase and continue to write a new one.
This is the Effective Living series. We're talking to Michael Ohini-Efa, and our topic this morning is overcoming self-sabotaging behaviors. It's our last topic. We're trying to just give you the final impetus for action, and he said a lot of things. And I think the key point so far is that where you are is a sum total of the 4 big things: decisions, choices, your habits, and your actions. And I think 2 things I glean from this: desires are not enough, actions matter. And I think Mike Murdoch was going to put it this way. He says, habit is more powerful than desire.
That's right.
Habit is more powerful than desire. So you can desire to be the best student in your class. And he also says something. He says, the worthiness of a goal is not in how noble it is.
No.
It is in the action you apply to it that makes the goal meaningful. So don't say I have a bigger dream than you. So who wants to be? What do you want to be? I want to be president of Ghana. I want to be UN Secretary General. Well, I want to have a big farm. But if I work on getting a big farm and you just sit down and say I want to be the president of whatever, it's not going to work. So you gave me 2 points.
Yeah.
I think you have 2 more, another 4.
So what we need to do, one, is what is the first behavior we engage in that sabotages our dreams, our aspirations, and our goals every year? Because a lot of people say, Ghana is and Ghana is hard, and Ghana is that. But you haven't changed anything you are doing. All the causal factors are in your hands. You have not changed that, and yet you are expecting some magic, something to change your life. It won't happen. So the first thing people do is that, one, at the beginning of every year, we need to rewire our mind. You need to enter every year with a new mindset. You need to enter every year with a new approach, a new attitude to things. If you don't renew your mind, the Bible says it very clearly that you be ye what? Transformed by the renewal of your mind. If you don't renew your mind, you will not be transformed. So every year, what is the mindset that you want to tackle the year with? In 2023, what's your mindset? A lot of people have just entered 2023. On 31st night, we chant, the slogans are there, we wear white. But nothing has changed. We still see Ghana the same. We still see Ghana the same. Now, as I said, 95% of our mind or brain is subconscious. We work with only 5%, the conscious. And so a big part of our lives, we don't even know what is happening to us because some of them are buried very deep at the deep recesses of our mind. Now, look at this. The average person has between 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts a day. Now, 80% of these thoughts are negative. And 95% of these thoughts are repetitive. So can you imagine what is happening to us?
Just wasting your mind. 80% are negative.
Yes.
And what percent is repetitive?
95% is repetitive.
How do you even calculate these things?
Well, psychologists even calculate the university don't understand this.
80% of your thoughts are negative.
Yes.
95% are repetitive.
Yeah. No, it's the other way around.
95%
is repetitive, 80% are negative. So you can imagine the margins that we are working with. That is why I said that. So that's why we wake up and then go and do say, oh, by this track, as I'm going to do, oh, even this contract, they rig the thing, let me not bother. So we keep doing the same thing. Our mindset is fixated on the negative, on the wrong, on the fact that Ghana is. Meanwhile, there are people making millions, even within the same system and the same structure. So that is one of the things we need to do. That renew your mind in 2023. Have a new mindset and approach to your life. What is it? You need to make wild, as the boys on the street will say. And if you don't do that, then I'm afraid you are going to have the same life repeated every day for 365 days.
Wow. Let's come to the fourth and final point.
The final point is really, you see, we are habits. So we are creatures of habit. What we do every day is what gives us the life that we see, what gives us the outcomes that we see at the beginning of every year and also by 31st night. And so every year, if you fail to install new habits, your life will be the same. So sit down and reflect over your life. Ask yourself, what are some of the things that I do that do not lead me to my goals and dreams and aspirations? What are the things that I do that is not helping me as an individual? And then change those habits. Do a reflection. Say, okay, maybe I do green bottles every Friday night. That takes about 100 Ghana cedis from me. That 100 Ghana can buy me 1 bag of cement. So this year, I'm going to change that. Or even you say, okay, I'll do the green bottle, but instead of 3, I'll do 1, just to slow down. And then the money for the 2, I'm going to put it into cement or something. So look at your life. You've been a professional. What are you doing to develop yourself so that you can grow on the corporate ladder? What are you doing towards your own dreams and aspirations? You haven't done that, and yet you are expecting the year to change for you. So failure to install new habits when the year starts means that you are sabotaging yourself and you are going to get the same outcome by 31st night. You'll be left disappointed, and then you say that, Ghana, the president must come and do something. The president won't do anything. Whether it will be or not, it is up to us.
Wow. So this is crucial. I'm thinking a lot about what you're saying. I think in the previous point, you said something about the mindset for the year.
Yeah.
And how to so I used to have this mindset that I have time. So a lot of things that I thought I needed to do, I said, oh, I will do it. But I've had a personal tragedy that sort of tells me that I don't have any time at all. So it's sort of, there's a sense of urgency and clarity that tragedy brings. So there are things that I used to think, oh, this one, I can do it next year.
That's right.
It's almost like a lot of things have to happen now.
Good.
So it seems as if I'm overloading myself with things, but I feel that I don't have any more time, right? I don't know what you think about that. I don't know whether I'm overreacting because, so for example, I say, oh, my kids, they have to learn this, they have to do that, but I'll space it. I was like, Charlie, do it now. Okay, because I used to think I will have a lot of time, but I lost my wife, and I'm like, Charlie, it happened so suddenly, so it's pushed me into some level of clarity and speed, right? And I don't know whether that's an example of the mindset for the year in terms of, so now when someone asks me to do something, it's like, okay, I need to do it like yesterday. Because I don't even have time. So like, quickly, just do the thing, give it to me so I can move to something else. In the past also, Charlie, I will do one.
Yeah.
And I don't know, that's one of my mindset switches. I don't know what you have to say about that.
Spot on. And I applaud you for that. I think the only thing is to be measured in the new sense of urgency that you have installed. Otherwise, you may crash.
I'm trying to install it actually because it's not. I think it takes a while to install it.
That's right. It takes 21 days to form and then 66 days of consistent practice to install.
Oh, okay. So there's a science to this.
Yes.
21 days
to form a new habit.
21 days to form?
Yes, and 66 days to install.
So you can form it but not install it. So you form it in 21 days.
Yeah.
And then you sort of embed it. So that's 3 weeks. So if you do something consistent for 3 weeks, you form the habit.
That's right.
Now if you do it for 2 months,
then it becomes installed.
It becomes part of you.
It becomes part of you to the point of being automatic. That is the point at which your habits have been formed.
Is this for both good and bad?
Yes.
So bad habits also 21 days.
Same thing.
Forgive.
That's how come we have alcoholics. And it's difficult to break it because they have installed it. And so you need to go through a reverse process of deinstalling, and it will go through the same process.
So if you take 21 days from a bad habit and 66 days to install it, you need 66 days to uninstall it, and then 21 days to... Oh my Lord.
That's right. That's why it's a program. And so people that you often hear, Charlie, relapse, or even for drugs and other things, you hear that somebody has relapsed because there is a science to the deinstallation process. And if you don't give yourself time, chances are that you may come back.
We are still on the Effective Living series, and my guest is Michael Ohene. This topic is really a bonus topic. You have bonus tracks on CDs. You have a bonus topic. We call it Overcoming Self-Sabotaging Behaviors, because the point is that at the end of the day, what do all these things mean? And how do you take responsibility? And Michael is helping us work through all of this. Heard a lot of things, and I'm sharing with my life because I feel it helps to bring the issues in perspective. There's another thing that I realized. So I was reading Romans 8, and for a lot of times I read it wrong. Romans 8:6, it used to say, they that walk in the flesh mind the things of the flesh, and they that walk in the spirit the things of the spirit. I always used to think, in a sense, this is Romans 8:5, is the mind that determines the action. But there's a certain sense in which I got it last time, where it says, if you walk in the flesh, your mind will be set on the flesh. So it's actually what you do that sets your mind.
That's right.
It's not. So it's like a funny chicken and egg situation. In the past, I used to think, okay, if my mind, so I was like, oh, let me shape my mind this way to help me behave this way. But actually, as you said, if I behave this way regularly, my mind accepts that is how you're supposed to behave. So actually, you can. So I think somebody said, you don't think yourself into a new way of acting. You act yourself into a new way of thinking. And I thought it was so perfect for me that if I want my mind to change about something, if I do the thing that I want to do, and I do it well enough, my mind will agree that I have to do it.
Good.
Other than just saying, oh God, help me to change the way I think. Because there's nothing that's going to change.
That's right.
Because your mind actually follows your behavior as a pattern.
Good.
I thought that was I don't know what you think about that.
We just discussed about the repetitive nature of the mind. So the mind keeps 80% of whatever it is that goes away from you. Because as I said, it takes too much processing time for the mind to be able to make sense of the things you need to do. And that's how come we form habits. So that with the habit, the mind doesn't, for example, you don't think to switch on a light. Because then your mind will have to process 2 million bytes of information.
Giving it too much work.
Exactly. So it will keep a lot of things away from you. And so until you come to that self-realization that I need to do this, I need to take this action, I need to make this choice, your mind will never help you to process that.
No, that's really deep. So in a sense, the mind is trying to simplify its life.
Very good.
So it forms habits and then thinks on more complicated things. So when it meets an uncertain situation, then you task it.
That's right.
But when it meets, so like when I come on air, because I'm so used to what I do, I'm not really thinking. It's like my nature. But if you put me in like an engineering room and you ask me to figure out something, then
you have to process the new information to make sense out of it. And in doing that, you will consume more energy. So your mind basically follows your thinking and says, you know what, this is too much for my master. Let me keep this away from him. So
but how do you balance being efficient at what you are good at with growing? Because one of the philosophies I also have is that I only grow by doing things that are not usual. So I'll give you an example. So when I went to Lagos, there are some courses that are easy for me. All right, so I'm doing economics. Now, reading subjects come easily to me. So if I just do reading, I can get all A's. But I said, okay, let me take maths. In Lagos, maths is pretty tough, all right? If you take maths at level 100, actually, it's not that easy. But it sort of forced me into a certain rigor that when I got to level 400, a lot of the economics courses, which are mathematical, were much easier. So my better grades came in level 400. A lot of my mates who did like easier subjects in about 100 had very good grades. But when you got to 400, their grades fell off because the economy becomes mathematical and you've not invested in the maths. So it sort of gave me this mindset that if I want to grow, I have to do things that are hard. So I don't know how far to push that philosophy, whether it's a great philosophy or whether I need to balance that a bit.
It's not necessarily hard, but new things.
Yeah, that I'm not used to.
Exactly, that will further your development. So it may be hard, it may be easy, but it has to be new, which is outside of your comfort zone, or aimed at helping you to achieve the goal that you have set for yourself.
These are interesting things. So you need to sort of know yourself and then be able to assess where you are with all of this.
Very good. And then make the necessary decisions.
Okay. Final point. What's the balance between personal responsibility and accountability partners? Because you said that at the end of the day you're in the driving seat of your life. Okay. But I also sense there's a need for having people you trust who can say, hey, Alowski, Charlie, when was the last time you took a vacation? You know, when was the last time you did this or that? You know, so talk to me about that.
In fact, there's a science to having accountability partners. I think it's the University of Pennsylvania that's conducted this study that you are 66% more likely to achieve a goal when you commit to somebody else.
Oh.
Yes. Oh. Even though you are in the driver's seat, you need a support system. You need a support system. And so this is where the accountability partners, mentors, coaches, consultants come in. And so they come in to support you in installing the habits, in supporting you to act on the decisions that you have taken yourself. And to also serve as a check. For example, when you are going off, then they tell, oh no. Or when you are not doing what you must do, like you said, then they remind you, oh, when was the last time you took about it? Then now you bring it into your frame of mind and say, oh, okay, actually, let me start planning towards it. So you are in the driver's seat, but you need support, you need help. So, and that is the role of that. They will not take your role from you. They will not take away the fact that you must drive. Their job is to push you small so that you can start the car.
So in a way, it's easier to lie to yourself than to others. Because if I just tell myself that I want to move house, I just told myself, nobody knows. So I can defer it. But if I have two friends, we have a small WhatsApp group, and I say, Charlie, I want to move by March. It's like, Bernard, how far is the house? So that one, you can't lie because you have brought them in to help you to achieve it.
Very good.
Wow.
Very good. Or even knowing that they are going to ask you, in itself make sure that the day before the
I will do some checks so that I can give them an answer.
Exactly. That's why you are 66% more likely to achieve the goal once you have committed to somebody to support.
And that's all we have time for this special edition of the Effective Living series. We've been looking at self-sabotaging behaviors that you must avoid in 2023. After all is said and done, the responsibility is yours. I've been talking to Michael Ohiniefa, who's come on the show for the second time this month to give us those insights. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
This is the Citi Breakfast Show, the city's biggest conversation.
Join the conversation on the Citi Breakfast Show on Facebook at facebook.com/Citi97.3, Twitter at twitter.com/Citi973, and Instagram at instagram.com/Citi973 with the hashtag CitiCBS.
They say each man for himself. Fight your own fight. Boafuyenna. Not when you choose Societe Generale SG Ghana. You need help. You need support. You need your trusted bank to help you push your business to the next level. Boafuyenna, we say, it is our privilege to offer you and your business the SG Ghana Boafu loan for micro, small, and medium-sized businesses. Get up to 600,000 Ghana cedis and 12 months to make comfortable payments. Let them say what they say. We say, Boafu Pepe Biaba. We say, no collateral, no problem. We say call Societe Generale SG Ghana to experience real support as you grow your business. Call us on 0302-214-314 or visit a branch to find out more. As always, terms and conditions apply. Societe Generale Ghana. The future is you.
Get ready for 7 exciting days of adventure through 13 incredible regions of Ghana with the promise of a rich cultural experience, introspective historical visitations, and exhilarating field days with nature. Prepare for 7 amazing days of a road trip filled with the sights, sounds, and the aura of a diversified people. Get ready because we are going on the expedition of a lifetime to discover Ghana from the 4th to the 11th of March on the Heritage Caravan 2023. Pack your bags and let's set off on this spectacular tour from Greater Accra through to the Volta region, through to Eastern region, Ashanti region, Upper East region, Savannah region, Northern region, through to Northeast, Bono region, Ahafo region, Bono East region, Western North, Western region, and the Central region of Ghana. A journey full of fun, education, information, wonderful memories, and great bonding moments await you on the Heritage Caravan 2023. The Heritage Caravan 2023 is powered by Citi TV in partnership with the Ghana Tourism Authority with support from Citi FM and proudly sponsored by Hollad Ghana, the European Union, Malta Guinness, Ebony Condoms, Goyle Company Limited, National Lotteries Authority, and Baltic Mineral Water.
Bet365 is now officially available in Ghana. My G, if you love sports, there's no better way to get a piece of the action. Build your own personalized bet with Bet Builder and select from popular markets on the biggest sports. You fit make multiple selections within a single match. For example, in football, you can choose first goal scorer and both teams to score to create your bet. Charlie, visit the official site at bet365.com.gh. Over 18s only. Terms and conditions apply. Please gamble responsibly.
It does get better anytime your favorite shop, Malcolm, says it's there for you and got you covered with all your daily need items. Continue shopping on products ranging from groceries, stationery, electronics, homeware, kitchenware, furniture, home decor, electricals, and many more at low prices. Terms and conditions apply. Malcolm, where Ghana shops.
Man, I've just been busy these last few weeks. My company has asked me to attend this conference in Canada scheduled for December of 2022. I submitted my application in March, but I've still not heard back from the immigration office. I don't know where to start. Time is ticking. If only there was someone to check in on my business visa status on my behalf.
If you retain our services at Askia Immigration Consulting Services, we can follow up to ensure the status and quick delivery of your visa application. No matter how busy you are, you can count on Askia Immigration Consulting Services. Contact Askia Immigration Services on 0241 318890 or 0595 449054 to book appointments and to get assessment of documents. Askia Immigration Services on the 8th floor of the number 1 Airport Square building, Airport City.
I'll take you there. Join the conversation on the Citi Breakfast Show on Facebook at facebook.com/Citi97.3, Twitter at twitter.com/Citi973, and Instagram at instagram.com/Citi973 with the hashtag CitiCBS.
This is the Citi Breakfast Show, the city's biggest conversation.
sure lots of people will be very happy to see a proper government response and a proper directive in terms of what to do, because we have several laws relating to rent on our books, but the implementation and the enforcement, those two things have always been a headache. So let's hope.
Apparently, only 5% of Ghana's population can acquire their own homes without any form of assistance. 60% of Ghanaians require support facilitated by the state to access housing, and about 35% will require additional direct support before they can have access to housing. And in the past few years, it's gotten worse. Where agents, I was looking for a house recently, and Charlie, you will go and pick the agent.
So did you do with an agent?
Yeah, but the funny thing, I didn't even get the house through an agent. So I there was a week, like 2 week period. I had a friend who was in a company that has they do housing things. So the guy I'll pick the guy, and then he has the agents. So he was like a super agent. So he will call the agent who is good with the Jowolu side or whatever. Then the agent will meet us in the car, and then they will call and go and look at the houses. But because I had this super agent who was his company was helping me, I think they were sorting out the lower agents. So it sort of shielded me in a way. But if I was just a normal journalist, I already got 3 years into work from the school, and I'm looking for a house.
You go chop hot.
I'll be paying just to even get the agent. Which I think is funny, because I think the agents should only earn their money when they strike a successful deal.
And ideally, yes.
You see, but the agents will even charge you
viewing fee,
which I think is wrong, because again, that agent, because for me, if you charge me viewing fee, I will pass your back too.
Yeah, so
because
it's partly the reason.
Because let's look at this. You charge me 100 cedis to carry me from Jowolu to Tesano to Ridge to look for a house. I get the house in Abilingpe. You talk to the landlady. Landlady doesn't have 10,000 houses. She has only 1 or 2 houses, so she may not need you, the agent. Now, agent is charging me a commission, charging the landlady to a commission. So I'm using the Ghanaian expression, if I pass your back and when I talk to the landlady and say,
direct,
yes, because you've already charged me for leading me to the place. Now you want to take a percentage of what I'm going to pay from both me and the person who is. That doesn't make sense to me.
The system is messed up. So yeah, I'm with Nathan on waiting for details on this, because we do know there's a problem. I mean, almost everybody here at the start of our lives has rented before, and before moving into places where we don't have to do that anymore. But it's the headache of a lot of young people in this country, and even the quality of what you get and the pricing of it and the environment and the regulation around it. Perhaps this might be a start to putting a dent in that 2-year rent thing. Because if the state says they are coming to rent, the state definitely is not paying 2-year rent. The state will tell you the law is the law. But then also the question of whose house will be made available, because then the person will tell you, well,
it is my house.
It is my house. I'll do what I want with it and all that. So we should just wait and see once they launch it what the details are. But what I am aware of is the fact that the initial stages will not be done nationally.
Oh, okay. So
yes. So they'll do it in Accra. They'll do it in Kumasi. They'll do it in Takrade. They'll do Kofodia, and then they will do Techiman.
And it takes me back to something I've been thinking about. So if you've been a minister for this government for 6 years or 7 years, you need to ask yourself what you'll be remembered for. And I feel, irrespective of the propaganda and the rhetoric of whatever is said, if you're a leader of even a state agency, you should take a hard look at yourself and say, okay, I've been CEO of Cocoa Board for 5 years. I've been CEO of GMPC for X number of years, or of whatever. What have I really changed? And if your staff members cannot point to any tangible thing you've changed, you failed.
That's true.
So, and this one is an assignment for those who are occupying any position. In the years that you've sat in that position in the public space, beyond the interviews you've granted and the intentions you've expressed,
and the awards you've given yourself.
Yes. What have you really? What name even one major problem you've solved with your position? Forget about what the president says he wants. Forget about free SHS and all those things. You yourself occupying that position. Because I think if you give me a position as a minister, I believe the basic thing to do is to ask what are the major problems here. Now, there are some I know I can't solve in a year or two. But at least you should be able to choose 1 or 2 or 3 that you say, as for this one, dear.
You have to fix it.
By the time Richard Sky leaves us, this thing will no longer be there. And this is a homework I'm giving people who are listening, ministers or whoever. Please, if you cannot point to anything you've changed, you have how many years do you have?
2 years.
Please.
Or less.
You have probably a year. Because, I don't know.
Changed for the better.
For the better, yes. Honestly, yes.
Some of them have changed things for the worse.
I'm saying this because, you see, guys, there is a role a whole political party plays and a whole government and a president. But I still feel that because leadership is so personalized in Ghana, if the person in the position is determined to change, like, for example, you are the head of passport office or you're the head of DVLA, you can say, irrespective of everything, that I'm going to reduce the wait time for passports from 3 days to 1 day. You can set that up as your agenda and do it. Or you can be the head of state and say, the level of pension contributions and pensions that my people are getting is too low. I'm going to raise that by 50% by the time I leave. That can be your own internal target. Or I'm the head of GIPs, I'm going to raise the level. And this can apply anywhere. And what I've noticed is that when you see leaders who have a passion and a vision for their position, they tend to achieve much more irrespective of which government is in power. So there's a limit to which you can blame the economy or you can blame partisan politics because people are doing things irrespective of the constraints. For example, and I don't know if this is an appropriate day because of the police. I was driving this week at this traffic light near Elwak. What's it called? Traffic light Elwak.
The Land Commission place.
Yes, the Land Commission intersection. So I was coming from 37 going towards Elwak. This guy, for the first time in a long time, about 20 motorbikes were all waiting.
That's right.
I was shocked. We were on red. We were on red on the left. And this is not just official motorbikes. So they were all waiting for the light to change. Not even one of them crossed the light. I said, hey, Inga, I even took a picture of with my phone. I said, hey, it means that the police people, because every traffic light, police station, people are there with motorbike now.
Right. If you do, they will chase you.
So it seems as if, at least at some level, we are seeing some change in policing. And I think it's partly because of the IGP and the way he sees policing and what he wants to achieve. So he can say that I may not be able to solve corruption in the police. People are still collecting 1 Ghana or whatever. But at least we can reduce a certain type of motorbike crime just by putting police with motorbikes at the ready at all traffic intersections. That seems like a very simple thing, but you can see the change. And let's be very honest, Nathan, the amount of phone snatching has moved. Maybe it has moved to the rural, I don't know. It used to be a major issue.
I mean, that's for
indiscipline at traffic lights used to be such a major issue. I don't know about all parts of Accra, but for some places I've seen, the motorbikes are waiting.
As for police presence, and I'm happy you've mentioned it, it's a bit more tangible these days. You can tell. I noticed from about October, November of 2022, all through the holidays. And I thought it was because of the demands of the holidays and what those periods mean. But you can see that, yes, there are a few more policemen on our road. So, yes, I think it's a very interesting example that you
No, I mean, for me, there's a tangible change in some aspects of policing.
Oh, yeah. There is. You see, I think the new leadership led by Dr. Dampare has brought some new image, professionalism to a large extent, and a new identity as to how that policing institution should work. And Bernard, although I do not have enough evidence beyond the numbers indicating that, for instance, recently we read a story about road crashes reducing. In fact, very recently there was this other publication, Ghana records 16% reduction in road crashes in 8 months. And this is the almost the first story that came, and then the very recent one we read recently. It would seem that, yes, he's doing his part, and some other agencies like the Ghana Road Safety Commission are also doing their part. But it would seem that there's a convergence of efforts to ensure that there is greater discipline on the road. So when policemen are reported to have done ABCD, you see him intervene quickly with his men to bring about sanity. People are being punished. Just today we read a story about a police officer who allegedly took 100 Ghana cedis from a driver and left his rifle in the trotro man's vehicle. You can guarantee that something will happen to that officer. And when you speak to people behind the scenes, there is a certain sense you feel that people are now apprehensive of their own misconduct, so that they do not want to do anything that will land them in trouble. That is the kind of leadership that we're talking about. Someone who is able to gauge the atmosphere. Say, what are the missing links in this particular department? How can I work to improve it so that it impacts the lives of people? Because 2 years, 3 years from now, he'll be out of office. Do you want him to retire and then be complaining about things that he ought to have changed when he was in office? When I returned, I noticed that Henry Korte, the Greater Accra Regional Minister, was doing fantastic work. Taking people off the streets, moving into areas, don't cross, you don't jump over the barriers, cross using the overhead footbridges and all of that. What has happened to that?
We actually need to dedicate a day to discuss Henry Korte as a case study of trying to make a change as an individual leader.
No opposition.
In a political situation, I don't know the way you guys say, in a political Ghana, because I feel there's a lot of lessons there. Some good, some bad. Because Henry Korte was, for me, in the first term. No, actually not the first term. The latter part of the first term, and then the earlier part of the second term.
Fantastic.
The main, what gave us joy in what we wanted to see a leader do. So I don't know whether it is personal circumstance, whether it is internal sabotage, whether it's lack of support. Because I feel that if a minister of a region, which is not at a high position, is doing something like this, sometimes he may need a certain level of support from the higher levels.
I don't see Jade Dumana.
In a way, because you see, Sky, if a regional minister, because of his knowledge from national security, is able to do what he's doing, I feel to endorse him, you can even elevate him.
That's right.
You can say, okay, I like what Henry Korte is doing to Accra, but Greater Accra regional minister is he doesn't have that much power. So let me make him local government, so that he can replicate that. So I don't think it's Henry Korte's fault. I think the system has managed to kill his fire because the interests that he was touching are too many. And it's a failure on our part as civil society too, because we know the kind of leader we want. All of us in the media like his approach. He's not everything he does that is right. But when I drive at Atomic Junction to Firestone to Zongo Junction and people are not crossing the road, I think that's good leadership. How come his fire is going down? And I think sometimes it's easy. That's like civil society should not just be about fighting things. It's also about supporting things you like. So if somebody is doing something wrong, yes, let's fight it. But if somebody is doing something right, if you don't support the guy, the people who are against him, they have an interest to destroy the guy. So they will not. So I think Henry Korte's, what was the word? What's the word to use? The dimming of his fire is a systemic failure. I don't blame him, because there's no way else you could have done it. He will do his interviews. He will engage. There was a time where all MPs from the region will support him, even when they were NDC. He will address gas. The guy was doing the work. They will plan the visit, Onion Market, he move the people. You get me? He's just one man.
Is he in town?
I don't know.
But
if you are his wife, if you are his wife, what will you tell him? But he's good. Your children are young.
I'm really surprised because this week I had it on my questions to ask the rapid deployment force Bino.
The joke is on us, not on him. The joke is the joke is not on him. He has shown you what is possible, and we have sat down for his fire to go down. Because within the limits of a constitutional democracy and a very powerful presidency, there's a very limited thing a minister of Greater Accra. He's not like a senior cabinet minister who has a lot of power. Like he was an Osafo Mafu type of person. Imagine what he could have done. Fire died. Or fire is dying. Near Iko, in fact, the worst part, his main reporter near Iko is now been moved to parliament.
I mean in the system.
I need to question if you're The guy who was on the helicopter beat has been redeployed to Parliament. Because like, there's no beat. There's no beat.
There is a
It's a serious matter. And I want us to discuss this issue.
Yeah, but that's why I raised it, because I noticed that, look, when I was out there, I was seeing what the guy was doing. You know, he was the bulwark of change for some reason, like moving into action, making sure that things happen. And that's how we want to see our government function. But all of a sudden, people began to talk, sabotaging him. You know, they are trying to remove him from the constituency, all kinds of things.
I'm keeping an open mind. No, we need to support when we decide when a critical mass decides that what a leader is doing is good. You see, nipa fruit the apply the piano. So nobody is perfect, but there are certain things you see a leader do that you know that this guy is on the right path. We have to support it. I want to hear him. By the way, you will talk. You talk. He has to live long. Or maybe he's trotting to come back. If you talk, no, finishing. Maybe finishing. Maybe he's trotting to refire. I am expecting a statement from his office to serve notice that helicopter is coming back. Big time. We miss his helmet and his cap. Do you want us to win the election? And they will deploy the special size. They will move around 5 a.m. Everybody's ready. They go. They've spoken to the market people. They prepare the place. Thank you. They move you there. They have engagement. Charlie, let me go and check the last demolition that was done and where it was done, because that be where it starts from. So this morning, I want to say good morning to everyone recording. We miss you. We miss you. We want you to light the fire. We want you to. How do you say that in Ghana? Yes, sokane. No, eja. That be eja no. La.
Ehani lacho.
No, I don't know. There's the fire they die. Yeah. People they hold water hose. They stand there. The fire will not die. The fire must not die. Yes, we do. Jora. That's all we have time for. Please, we will come back tomorrow by the grace of God to continue this national development effort. It's not an easy work, but we will do it. Our Idrisu is here. She's laughing at me. How City News at 10.
Coming up, Ministry of Education cautions parents against paying individuals to secure school placement for their award, and national executives of the NDC to meet with the minority caucus in Parliament following agitations by